Just over a week from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft, and pre-draft visits continue to be reported as two more names were added for the Bills: South Carolina defensive tackle TJ Sanders and Kentucky defensive tackle Deion Walker. We also have more draft profiles up at our website, WGR550.com, courtesy of Howard Simon and Joe Marino. Next up, another defensive lineman, Arkansas's Landon Jackson. Raiders edge rusher Max Crosby has been named the assistant general manager of Eastern Michigan. Crosby does become now the first active player to hold the position, and his roles appear to be high school and portal talent evaluation, managing the NIL budget, and serving as a special assistant to the athletic director. The Sabres drop both games on their Florida road trip. They wrap up their road schedule of the season. Now just two more games remain. Both will be at home tomorrow against the Maple Leafs and Thursday against the Flyers. 6 games tonight, though. Some notables. Montreal still trying to clinch that last wild card in the East. They've lost 2 in a row, but host Chicago tonight at 7. Panthers are also at 7. They host the Rangers. Then 2 games at 10. The Kings are in Edmonton, and Vancouver have the Sharks in town. Late afternoon baseball tonight, just after 7. The Yankees have the Royals in town. Blue Jays host the Braves. Then at 7:40, the Mets are in Minnesota versus the Twins. And then in golf, Rory McIlroy does take home his first green jacket. He wins the 2025 Masters. That also gives him now the career Grand Slam. McIlroy joins the just 5 other male golfers to complete the modern Grand Slam. We'll get more on the weekend as Brian Koziel joins the show at 6. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I got a speeding ticket in the mail yesterday.
In the mail?
Yeah. I think I'm going to just ignore it.
It's Mike Schopp
Where was this?
Spain.
and the Bulldog.
I think if I just lay low, I think I'll get away with it.
Not mention it on the air?
Definitely don't want to talk about it on the air.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog
I like the sound of this more and more as we go. I'm an outlaw.
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Follow-up. I got a second notice in the mail last week.
Oh, yeah?
And so did my friend who, independent of my speeding infraction, also incurred a speeding ticket while we were in Spain together, but we were separate when we got these tickets. Same offer, though. It's like, this is a $100 offense. If you pay now, we will only charge you $50. Like, okay, you sent me this in September, I think it was. And,
Who is sending you this mail?
I don't know.
Are we sure it's official? It's somebody who would have access to the records.
Yeah.
But it does also sound like maybe somebody's trying to, there's a middleman involved trying to get anything from you.
That's that's why I'm not paying. I mean, until the Spanish authorities show up on my porch, I think I'm gonna ride it out.
I felt so good getting a speeding ticket, and people are like, it's just like with TV. People have like the free TV. Oh, you should get whatever service for $8 a year. Right. And I'm like, no, I'm going to pay through the nose, and I'm going to be proud of myself.
Right.
And with this,
I'm going to be legal.
With the speeding ticket, there's that same sort of culture where somebody tells you, oh no, call this. I got a guy. You do this, and you'll get out of it. Like, I'm going to pay double just because you said that. I'm going to pay the full amount just because you said that. I was speeding. That's something you have to cop to here.
Yeah.
Is you were speeding.
Yes.
So you probably should pay somebody something. But a lot of people be like, what kind of sense does that make? Why should you pay anything if you don't have to?
If I 100% were positive that this wasn't some scam, I would have paid it the minute it showed up at my door. You know how I am. Mm-hmm. I can't be in debt. I don't like that. So like I'm goofing around here about, but I'm really, I don't want to scan that code and send them my credit card or something. And I don't know.
Right.
It's the mail, by the way, with the updated, like the new, it's the same piece of paper that I got 6 months ago. But I don't know if I didn't notice this the first time or if it were different, but I didn't save the packaging it came in, but it was a very official looking, the sort of mail that almost looks like you have to sign for it, but they just left it anyway. Mm-hmm. But the return address was somewhere in the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's where they run all this action through.
And I was like, what?
It's all Dutch these days.
I was in Spain. I don't know. It's Netherlands. I don't know. It feels scammy to me. So I'm just TBD on paying the Spanish speeding ticket.
I'm enjoying the ride as a friend.
Yes, thank you.
And a fan.
Happy to
what happens here.
Amuse everyone slightly.
Fun week ahead with the draft getting closer and playoffs in hockey if you want it, and basketball, the end of the Sabres season.
I want it.
We'll talk about the Masters. I am just back from a long, faraway journey to the Grand Slam of curling.
Look at that
Twitch Hive. Hello.
How many ounces fit in that? That's a little too small. It needs to be a little bigger.
Oh no, it's plenty big.
Yeah.
This is my curling rock
mug. It just doesn't look like it's going to hold enough coffee to satisfy me.
It does. I never use it. But I'm sort of in a curling mood here, and brought it in today. Thought it'd be funny to show everybody the mug.
I see. Right.
When I'm done, I'll show you the inside. It's got the rings.
Oh, really? On the bottom, it's got the rings.
On the bottom, it's got the rings and a maple leaf. And I brought it in, made the coffee here at work, poured the coffee in, and it just kept going. And it wasn't full. So,
you feel okay?
Unofficially,
it's a deceptively large receptacle,
yes,
is what you're telling me.
Okay. I wish I'd put it that way.
It's a large vessel.
It's a deceptively large receptacle. It's exactly what it is. Right. There it is.
Yeah, it is wide. I guess I got to give it that.
It's wide. That's where it fools you.
What it's lacking in height, it's making up for in girth.
Thank you for saying that.
I guess maybe
that is right. McElroy. So speaking of being in debt, I paid you your winnings on that one. It's been said many times, it's not like everybody would agree, but man, if you love golf, there's something special about that sport where you just feel like you are in their heads. You feel like McElroy, who's already, he's emotive and he's been around. He's only 35, but he's been around forever. Any fan knows who he is and knows his story.
He looks
needed
like
the one.
Such a little kid in the pictures of his first major win, right? And he's maybe, what is he, 21 in those pictures? I'm trying to even remember how old he is
about at
the time. But he looks like someone you would run into caddying for you at some club somewhere if you lived that life. It's incredible how young he looks there.
Yesterday at one point they mentioned his age, and I couldn't quite make it out, but I decided that they said 45, and I believed it. But then I went well, he's really 45 though? I mean, he's 35.
Right.
And just the ebbs and flows with this player, I mean, any tournament, but especially when you have the background information. A guy comes out of nowhere and he gets the lead on Sunday and then he gives it back and it's back and forth. It's great. This guy in that storyline, though, it's that much better. And how did you feel like it was going to end? The shot on 13 in the water was shocking. I mean, he was perfect all day and all weekend.
And that shouldn't have been that was just a bad miss.
And that's when it started to seem like, because he played it safe there, which, in a vacuum, McElroy would never play 13 like that. He would never lay up. He had 85 yards, right?
Right.
That third shot, he would never play the hole that way. But he's up by 3 or more.
Yeah, I mean, he was up by 5 at one point, I think, on the back nine for a moment. I think Rose made something or somebody else made something really quickly that closed that. But still, yeah, he was cruising. So, yeah, lay up. And that's anyone who plays golf, right? How do you talk yourself out of laying up if you're not a very good player? Well, if I hit the layup try,
right?
I'm going to just be mad. I might as well just say, give me the 3-wood. I'm going to just try to hit it 220 over the water, because at least if I miss that, I will die with my, I'll die with my gear on. I'm going to die, I'm going to fall on my sword. I'm trying. Let me just hit a 7-iron, 155 up there. No, I shanked it.
Why did I do that?
Right. This, he executes the layup shot, and he's got exactly what he wanted, right? 85 yards to the, okay, and whoa.
And suddenly he's behind, but then it's back and forth the rest of the day. Every time he was in trouble, every time he got down, he was amazing immediately. The birdie on 17 to go back ahead,
that shot on 15 is the one that right? That's
where
the par 5.
Putt.
Right. That shot was preposterous.
See, right there, he's playing to win now.
Yeah.
because he's lost his lead, and bam, misses that putt though. I forget 16, the par 3, but 17 birdie, and 18 sort of blocks the second into the sand. Mm-hmm. He played so fast. Like, I was not ready for him to play his third shot, but he was like sprinted in there and just played it like he was, terrified. Bogey, missed the short putt for the playoff, and then in the playoff, amazing. The second shot, perfect.
Just tremendous. Yeah.
So that's a great sports watch.
It really is. And the amount of the catharsis that we all watched him undergo the minute he makes that putt, the second he makes that putt, was just incredible. Like, it strikes me, I mean, golf is so much different. Like, we talk largely here about the team sports, of course, and the Bills, and we're waiting for the Bills to get over the hump here, right? Like, they don't have a major championship in their closet yet. The best they've got is 4 straight AFC titles when a lot of you listening weren't even born. This group hasn't made it to the Super Bowl yet. Josh Allen hasn't made it to the Super Bowl yet. Sean McDermott hasn't. But we're rooting for them, and like the faces and the names, many of them will change around, for now it's changed around Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. It's not constant, but there's always new people, old guys age out or you just choose not to keep them and new guys come in. Golf, like if you've been rooting for Rory McIlroy since he first showed up and started winning majors, you've had a ride here, and it's just him. There's no teammates changing. There's no shuffling the roster. There's no windows closing and opening. I mean, the window is entirely, he owns it. The window is his age, and like, for how long will he be somewhere near the peak of his powers if he still is even at his peak right now? Maybe he peaked when he was 25, and that was 10 years ago. I don't know, physically, I mean, but to see the impact of finally getting it, I mean, you gotta know, like, we could guess he was really broken about what happened at the U.S. Open last year. The way he acted afterward, just throwing the stuff in the car and leaving without talking. And he explained himself afterward, and it made sense. Man, he's been carrying that around. I've never seen Tiger crying when he won coming back was emotional because we'd never seen him be emotional. And so that was heavy, and there was a death recently, and like there were things, right?
His mother.
Yeah. This was like nothing I've ever seen. Him on his knees there, heaving. He's heaving. He's crying so hard. Right? That's not just like, he's getting emotional. Like, he's heaving on the ground. And
you think they would have kicked him out of the golf course for that at the Masters. You can't get away with that.
And the whole thing, the whole walk up, he keeps grabbing his head hard. Like you do when you break a thing you're trying to fix because you're not good at it. You're like, oh, what did I do? I just made this so much work. Like, it's that sort of frantic almost. You don't know what to do with yourself. It was so powerful watching him go through that. And he's all alone in that. Like, there's no guys to come help. I mean, the coaches, friends, whatever. But in the end, right, your head hits the pillow after that U.S. Open last summer, and all you've got is yourself. You're in there. And
that's what makes it so great.
Yeah. I mean, it was singularly one of the most incredible emotional moments I've ever seen in sports.
So you had McIlroy in our game, and Rose is likable and also really, like, he's a Hall of Fame player. He's older, and he's never won the Masters before. And so my wife and I are watching. I'm like rooting for Rose.
Of course you are.
Of course I am.
So you should be doing.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I'm on that side. So I'm with Rose. And she sort of gave me a look, not knowing probably much about the McIlroy, like the whole story about, I doubt she knows what happened at the Open last year or that he needs this for the Slam or whatever. Like, she just knows he's famous and likable, right? So she knows who he is. But she was, I think, kind of miffed that I was not rooting for him. Like, look, I mean, we know each other pretty well here. Right. It's a pretty good swing here, depending on who wins this thing. Yeah. But never rooted against McIlroy. Just on 18, he makes it. This is going to be awesome. He misses, and this is also going to be great for another half an hour or whatever. And if he loses the tournament, then we get another year out of it. at least.
Right.
And so I care about that too, selfishly. But either way it went, I'm fine. Like, it was just a great day to watch it. It hit me as even like just the point about it going to a playoff, and we're going to overtime here. There's going to be more, and loving that. I'm at a point now where I need a sports break, kind of.
Really?
I mean, I just watched the hell out of this tournament. Not Thursday, Friday, because I wasn't able to, but Saturday, Sunday, I kind of watched it all. And I'm watching soccer in the mornings. I've got Everton. I've got the curling on yesterday and Saturday all day. And never even got to baseball or, a little bit the Sabres, but there's only so much time here.
Soccer in the morning for me too, but eventually, it was my, you know how much I love Man United. They mean so much to me. I
think you actually do mean that.
They kicked off at 11:30. Immediately fell behind. I think anyway. I don't know. Whatever. It was easy for me to change to the streaming golf before the 2:00 coverage started, because I just wanted as much of it as I could get. Saturday, which is, of course, not the culmination and then the crowning achievement for Rory McIlroy. Saturday, when the CBS coverage started, Saturday afternoon, I don't know, I didn't have a stopwatch on it. I feel like at least the first hour, maybe 90 minutes of that was like the greatest golf television I've ever watched in my life. It felt like every guy they went to was making some incredible shot. Of course, Rory was included in that, right? Then he eagled 2 to start that round, right? He had all threes across his scorecard, like 6 threes in a row to start round 3 of the tournament. Was incredible.
I'll tell you what, that when you do that, it feels great.
I think so. But all around him, everybody else is making stuff, and it just got so hot. The leaderboard read, before the day even started, it read like they were having a Four Nations face-off of golf or something. Like, everybody was there, and there was there's some McCarty guy that nobody had ever heard of in there, and maybe poor Corey Connors was up there in the top 10. But the other 8 guys were all household names in golf, if not bigger than that, even like superstars in golf, like Rory is, and DeChambeau. It was so gripping. I just could not get over how hot Saturday was when it started. I've never had more fun watching golf than I did this weekend. It was so good.
I will say one thing about this, not in contrast to that, but one sort of nitpicky thing of mine. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I made this point. Maybe it was about the tournament. It was about the tournament. And just years of, that really still continues. The sports, this world we live in, and I feel like I was born for it, is kind of finding the flaws. You're looking for what's wrong with the format, what's wrong with the sport, what's wrong with the television coverage of it,
right, yeah.
What's wrong with it, and and pick anything. With the tournament, it's watered down. Oh, we want upsets. No, we don't. Just NIL. All the coaches are just changing every year, and just whatever. There's a list of things that with any of these sports or tournaments or whatever that you can come up with. And I think about sometimes, how many years of talking we've put in. Like, sports wins. Sports won. The tournament won. All these different things that maybe aren't perfect about it, but look at it. And the Masters, remember, was her name Ann Burke? Remember the lady who criticized Augusta, very publicly for not having women. And there's been all this controversy over the years with Augusta being too exclusive, not welcoming minorities, not welcoming women, all the different things. Remember 25 years ago, like, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And here it is now. We're watching this tournament, and I'm with you. And I think most of us felt like this is just sort of perfect. Look at it. Look at the names, the history. We love that.
Yeah.
Just look at it. Now they've got, they'll have drones that show you the holes from overhead like you couldn't ever used to have. And that's awesome. A golf fan knows the golf course, even if he's never been there or she's never been there. And I was really sort of taken by that yesterday, too. There's no commercials at the Masters, really. Like, it's very rare.
They're few, yeah.
Only a few commercials the whole day. My one little complaint with CBS, I prefer the NBC golf coverage. And it's not like they're so much better at this necessarily. I needed somebody yesterday to put the thing in perspective a couple of times as we're going through the day on the leaderboard. there was a little flurry of activity midway through the round, and they got within, like 4 or 5 of McIlroy. And Nance said, "It's tightening up. It's tightening up for second." Like the story,
right.
Like I tweeted yesterday, Johnny Miller, who was almost too blunt for people's taste sometimes. I mean, controversial, but he totally would have said halfway through that round, if not just constantly, if Rory doesn't blow this, it's his.
Right.
Just be real with me instead of only talking about, the niceties and what club they're using and just like, come on, somebody on this broadcast be the one to just sort of put your voice on it.
Nobody's going to do that at the Masters.
No, the CBS guys, nobody has that, so to speak, club in their bag. I mean, it's all just so, cute and happy. And just, it's not even like this is a criticism. It's just sort of like a real take. If he doesn't blow this thing, he's got it. There's no way he's going to lose unless he puts it in Race Creek maybe twice. Like otherwise, he's going to win. Somebody talk like that to me on this broadcast, and nobody does. So that's one complaint I have. Again, I'm not saying NBC is just like, although Miller, who's retired, was NBC. I'm not sure if they have anybody else who would do that. But I even feel like Faldo is somebody, when he was there, who would have said, Azinger would have been somebody who would say, like, this thing's over. We're either getting history or we're getting history.
Yeah, a disaster or like a disaster maybe so epic that you wonder if he'll ever recover. In the moment, of course, that dissipates over time. But if it would have happened that way, that's what it would have felt like. Like that's how we were talking in my living room. John Gale was over, Owen was glued to it, and we were talking about like if he doesn't get this is defining his career.
That's what people would have been saying in every living room,
right?
But just not on the air,
not on CBS, right?
I can't somebody on the air just be real and say like this is where we're at here. But you get it's tightening up. No, you're at the Kentucky Derby. Don't you see that one horse way up ahead? Like, it's tightening up for place. But then he did, bring everybody back into it. So, anyway, loved it. Brian Koziel with us later on for his analysis and perspective on it from tee to green.
And the golf course, I mean, look, it's famous. It's the one major where it's the constant, right? Everything else moves around. The British, the Open, not as much. There's 4 or 5 courses that they have in a rotation, and sometimes they change. But either way, this is every year. And someone said to me, I was out on Friday night for a little while, and a friend of mine said to me, the thing about this tournament especially is if you've watched it long enough, like a lot of us have, every shot. Yeah. You know every shot. And you might even remember, I mean, they'll show you highlights, shots, the shot on 15 that Rory hit, I think, on Saturday, that wasn't the bender that yesterday's was to get him in position for eagle, like mirrored a shot that Tiger had hit back in, 20 years ago or something. Even their reaction, like the shot is in the air and they're just walking after it, like they love it. They're walking, and that gives you chills. I realized yesterday that one of my very favorite things to look at in all of golf, watching golf, playing golf, is the view from behind the player as they're lining up their second shot on hole number 2 there, the par 5. It just is so green. It's like the most green you can. The fairway is super wide, and it's a large, wide green, and there's bunkers in front, and it just is so. And it's going down a hill. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And I probably liked looking at that when I was 7 years old or something, and saw the Masters for the very first time ever on TV. And I've been seeing that shot every year of my life. And it took until, Saturday for me to realize, man, I just love when the guy is standing there. And it's a big shot, right? It's 230. The 3-wood is out. It's just such a great moment. I could just, if I were going to that golf course to watch the tournament, I would need to spend, maybe if I'm lucky enough to go multiple days, I would need to spend a couple of hours just sitting in that landing area and watching guy after guy come through and play that shot, because I just love the backdrop. It's amazing to look at.
Yeah, it really is maybe unique for me, and I know for you, like maybe for a lot of fans, it's the front. They didn't used to show the front 9, but now you get the whole final round of the leaders. And whatever hole it is, when we stop and think how much is left, you're just happy that there's so much left.
Right.
Like, I will give this my entire day. I will give Sunday at Augusta the whole day. I can't even give the draft the whole day, like on Saturday or anything. I just, I love the draft, but no way am I just sitting there the entire day. Not many things I'll do that for, but this is one of them.
That's all I did Saturday from about 1:15 until 7 o'clock. And then yesterday, I think around 1 o'clock is when I got to the streaming and eventually CBS. And yeah, that was it. There's no, like you said, the commercials are very limited. So it's not even like I want to go see what's going on with the Rangers game or like whatever. There's no temptation to go looking for anything. At least for me, there wasn't. I suppose, a lot of people might be different out there, but they don't even give you a reason to go anywhere else. The commercials, when they come as infrequently as they do, are short. The breaks, it's just like you barely have time to go to the kitchen and get something and come back. It's gripping is what it was to me on Saturday and Sunday.
We will take a break and sorry if it's too long, but
Right.
we have to do what we have to do. From the Draft Network, 10 days away, Justin Mello will join us at 4. He also covers the Titans, who have the number 1 overall pick. And I mentioned Brian will be on with us later. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, 803-0550 if you want to get a word in. This is WGR.
Never
special, Thursday, April 17th from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. streaming live on YouTube. Get the latest on who's being mocked where. Hear from the insiders, plus guest appearances from Jeremy White, Joe DiBiase, Nate Geary, and Sal Capaccio. Presented by your Upstate Honda dealers. For great deals on the entire Honda lineup, including the all-new Honda Passport, visit your Upstate Honda dealer today.
This is by far the greatest golf tournament in the world. I'm from a place that I might get criticized for saying that. I go back to watching this tournament on the weekend with my father when I was 7 and 8 years old, watching Tiger Woods do what he did in 1997. That was my inspiration to try to become what I am today. And to think that I'm up here wearing one of those green jackets is, honestly, it's a dream come true. Like, my dreams have been made today.
Rory McIlroy achieves the career Grand Slam with his win yesterday at Augusta National, one that won't soon be forgotten. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Thanks for listening. 803-0550 to call in.
Hey, who won the Masters yesterday?
You forgot? We all did.
Sorry, that was pretty cheap.
DeChambeau didn't win. The guy collapsed, kind of.
Could I?
Where'd he go?
Yeah,
I'd bet on him to win separately.
I've grown to really like him. I don't know if we're all being worked by just the when the cameras are rolling or what, because he's like the most outgoing and seemingly fun-loving. YouTube has been a big part of his popularity, I think, despite being on the Live Tour. I've grown to like him. Yesterday, afterward, and then today, I saw a statement from him congratulating Rory, and he's just got to let you know I didn't have my swing. Like, we saw you miss a lot of shots. You don't need to tell us you didn't have your swing. You weren't good enough. That's good. That's good enough. I
take some of the credit away from McIlroy.
Yeah, like if I'd have had no, you didn't. I don't know. I just didn't need that. That sort of rubbed me the wrong way from him afterward. Yeah,
that's right.
It's not that's not where you want to be. I think
I should have won, but I didn't play well.
Right? Like what?
Yeah, no.
Like I'm sorry. That's not how this works. I don't think.
My feeling about the tournament quickly was I wanted to bet against the 3 big shots by Saturday or even yesterday, that somebody else wins. Doesn't have to be Scheffler every year. Doesn't have to be McIlroy or even DeChambeau. But in Mike Schopp fashion,
right.
I got Rose to the to the edge, lost. So that's what usually happens in my betting life. That was great thought. Logical, exciting.
Oh, we took
big money is waiting out there for you.
We took a bunch of people on a ride with Hovland Saturday afternoon at the bar. Like we were texting, and you said and I had so maybe this isn't the best example for me to be talking about it. I look in the morning. I'm like, do I want to do anything else? Like, no, I've got Oberg to win. He's alive, I guess, alive enough, and the odds aren't. No, I'm not doing anything else. And then you're like, well, Hovland is this, and this guy's that. I'm like, all right. So I start talking about Hovland, and he starts out like. We had about an hour where, a few bucks on him was really fun Saturday afternoon. It turned awful. We bogeyed the last 2 on Saturday and then opened with 3 straight bogeys on Sunday.
Never in it.
Thanks for coming. But for a minute there on Saturday, it was super fun. But yeah, no, that's exactly, I love that kind of action. Oh, he's plus 2,800 in the tee box at 1 on Saturday. Awesome.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge opportunity.
He's never going to win.
Huge investment opportunity.
Look at that.
It seemed like maybe he could win.
Yeah, I suppose.
He's supposed to be really good. And
yeah.
If you thought the big guys would crack, which I was kind of betting on, predicting, didn't really happen though. Dan is with us. Hi, Dan.
Good afternoon, guys. So I swore I'd never be a guy that would, brag about gambling victories, but you guys seem to fancy a wager. So I just think you'll appreciate the anxiety here. So to be clear, I wanted Rory to win. So these are basically emotional hedges. So I don't know. I think after he put his drive in the bunker on 1, I'm like, just for fun, just in case he loses, I'm gonna take a couple long shots. In the value with only 4 or 5 guys be ahead of him. I'm like, so I put just $10 on Rose and $10 on Oberg, at 50-1 and 30-1 respectively. I'm like, oh, this is going to go nowhere. And then he's still 6 clear of those guys on whatever 13.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh boy. And then I'm like, okay. And so now I'm getting cash out offers of $45 and $30 on Oberg. I'm like, it's not enough. Blah 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 blah. Next thing you know, they're tied. And it's bouncing back and forth. And the books, you guys probably know this, the books are always like 30 seconds ahead of TV.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing my cash out bounce back and forth just insanely. And it's $100 on Rose now that they're even. And now Rory goes back up 1 on 17. And next thing you know, my offer is $200. I'm like, he must have made the putt. Rose must have made, and sure enough, Rose made the putt. And I got a friend of mine telling me, don't cash out. I'm like, I am taking my $217 on a $10 bet. And so I get the best of both worlds. Rory ended up winning.
That's awesome. Good for you.
21 to 1 odds. So it was a good day, but man, it was a roller coaster of a day and probably the greatest golf tournament I've ever seen. So thanks guys for the line. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. It is true that if you're on your app, it's going to tell you what hasn't happened on your screen yet.
Yeah.
Like any sport. Which, isn't great, but
no.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Did you talk to Sam Friday? I was off.
Yes,
last week.
I did. Yeah, we did. Nate was in Friday for you, and we enjoyed a hearty chat with Sam. Yeah,
about golf at all.
There was. I think I don't know. It's a long time ago now.
Okay,
Friday, but yeah, there was plenty of golf there.
Did you talk? Did he bring up the Rockies? Again?
We did not talk about the Rockies. I don't think baseball came up as a subject at all.
All right.
I got my chance to do a little bit of a victory lap with him about my Tage bet from last weekend.
Yes.
Because we hadn't visited since then. I won that last Sunday.
Yes.
But mostly it was golf related, I think.
I'm surprised not to have gotten a text from him today about the Rockies. He's under on the Rockies. He's brought it up a few times. I think maybe Joe went with him. Did you know they did not score a run all series against San Diego?
Really? No, I didn't.
3 games, they did not score a run. When does that ever happen?
That's tough. Were the games in Colorado?
No.
Okay.
3-12.
That's tough to get shut out at home in that ballpark would be embarrassing.
I don't think I know about a time a team just got swept in a series and didn't score. I mean, a 2-gamer maybe, but seems to me that's probably pretty rare.
Didn't someone last week or the week before have a run of games that they lost 2-1?
The Reds lost 3 games in a row, 1-0.
1-0. Okay.
I think it was against different teams, but yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's right. And this is an active streak. They have the Dodgers tonight at the Dodgers. Will they score a run?
Keep her going.
Will they score a run? Tony is next. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Just a great weekend of golf. The highlight of the weekend, unfortunately, soured at the handing over of the green jacket. The ambassadors of the game of golf are falling by the wayside. You look at Bernhard Langard when he had his interview, the guy was tearing up. You could tell it's about the passion of the game. Today, unfortunately, it's the almighty dollar, which that's business now. It is the way it is. But the golf gods paid off for Rory and sticking with the PGA and not jumping ship. And the souring point of yesterday was when Sheffield handed the green jacket over, he didn't even have the decency to shake the man's hand. Terrible, terrible sportsmanship, and especially for the game of golf in an establishment of Augusta. That is a shrine. That was a disgrace. And one last thing, go Habs, go.
Okay. I didn't know about it. What, Scheffler didn't shake his hand? Is that a
I don't know.
Point of controversy?
I watched it. It was noticeable to me how quickly he got out of there. And of course, what I thought was, does the guy who, the defending champion from the previous year, does he always get out of there that quickly? Because, once you've given the guy the jacket, that's it. You're done. This is his moment. So I'm guessing that maybe the defending champion always exits stage right or left very quickly. I didn't think about a handshake. I'm assuming they exchanged lots of pleasantries off camera.
Maybe. Maybe not.
So it did not stand out to me at all. I was too fixated on Rory. and just what because he was so emotional. I mean, I don't know. This guy's talking about longer tearing up 40 years ago or something. I mean, I've never seen a golfer as emotional as Rory was yesterday.
I think you usually would get a handshake after the guy puts the jacket on you.
Yeah.
I think the handshake usually comes with that.
Can't say I know the protocol. Yeah, but
I didn't make it to the ceremony.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
I needed to see it. I just because it's so awkward looking almost every year without fail. But I thought Nance did a good job. Like, Nance got emotional at one point talking to Rory about his parents and the sacrifices they made, the dad working 2 jobs and the mom working a factory at night and all the stuff just so they could sort of prop him up and get him on his way. And I thought Nance's voice cracked in trying to get to that line of questioning, and Rory was certainly very emotional. I didn't notice the lack of a handshake. If that was an offense of the standard protocol, then that's a valid criticism. I didn't think about it.
No, didn't know, but okay. Scheffler, I mean, there are people who follow it way more closely than I do, but I don't feel like I've ever gotten a feel for him. Scheffler, like, one thing I remember him saying, which this is the kind of way I think, he asked about when he was just peaking a year or 2 ago, asked about legacy. And he said, yeah, in 100 years, nobody's going to remember or care about any of this. Like, that was his answer to a question about legacy, because that's so far from what you always get. And I kind of liked it, but it's also like, all right, sorry. Sorry for asking.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to talk about, the tradition of it all. So I don't know. I don't have a Scheffler problem, but.
No, I definitely don't. But this,
Yeah, his temper has been on display this year, though. He's throwing clubs, and he hasn't always looked like, you'd want to see. I guess I'd put it that way.
Yeah, I think he's cracked a little this year.
Justin Mello, Draft Network. As we are now 10 days away from round 1 of the NFL Draft, we'll spend some time on that, of course, as we continue. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
More of Schopp and the Bulldog.
Contest time. Be caller 5 at 716-221-4WGR. That's 4947 to win a pair of lawn tickets to see Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace at Darien Lake Amphitheater September 17th. Courtesy of Live Nation. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Justin Mello from the Draft Network coming up in about 15 minutes, a little less, maybe. Brian Koziel will join us later. Sal is away for a few more days. Draft in 10 days. Here's the inside of the mug.
All right, yeah.
Twitch
like
Hive?
Yeah, that's good. Oh, I can barely see the yellow in there. Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure there is yellow.
There is an oak. There is.
It's just one ring and then a button with a maple leaf on it.
I think I was just seeing shadows, I thought. Okay.
Curling mug. Could be coffee color.
It works.
That yellow you speak of.
Yeah, maybe.
Had a great time up there. Grand Slam curling. Season over. After yesterday's finals, Rachel Holman could not quite get the career slam. I had the tweet already. Congratulations on the career slam. Everybody's talking about it. Meaning her and not Rory McIlroy, but didn't happen. Such a great time. Only good vibes in there. It was the old Maple Leaf Gardens this week. They pretty much packed it Friday night, and I just loved it. I love being up there so much.
How much does the arena where that takes place still look like the hockey rink?
Almost not at all.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, you look for clues. What they have now, the rink, which I think is a skating rink most of the year, I'm not sure of that, is on the top floor. Think Harbor Center.
Right.
Okay. And so the ceiling is the same. It's painted and redone. Doesn't look like I remember.
Right.
I only went to Maple Leaf Gardens when it was the Leafs' home a few times. But what you have though, as you go up in the building on the escalators and the stairs, is just pictures all over the place of the history, not just of the Leafs, but different ceremonies that were there, different things. And the outside is the same, like the marquee where it says Maple Leaf Gardens.
Yeah.
That's the picture you need.
Cool.
Anything about the gardens, that's the picture from the outside is what you want. Nothing inside really resembles it. There's a gym, there's a grocery store at the bottom floor.
Last time I went to an event there was like spring of, I think, I have to work to get the year here. I don't remember the year exactly, but I had a buddy in from out of town, and we had gone to a Sabres game here and did some other stuff in town. We were just hanging out. It's my friend from New England who we would take turns visiting to see one another, and we were flipping through like an Art Voice or whatever Art Voice would have been back then, like some local arts paper, and there were some ads in the classified, and one of them was for a ticket broker company. Like this is pre-internet life, okay? And I thought, I recognize the name of this company. Do you want to go see the Leafs and Ducks play tonight in Toronto? So I call the guy. He says, yeah, come out. He had an office on Dick Road near the airport. And all of Dick Road is near the airport. I think all I really needed there was Dick Road. Anyway, went out there, gave the guy money for these tickets that I was to go to some diner on Carlton Street across the street from to pick up. Which I'm going to trust you. Here's whatever it was. I don't remember how. It wasn't too expensive. And paid the money. My buddy and I hopped on my car. We drove to Toronto, and I went to this diner, got to the register. I was told to ask for Serge or somebody. I don't know. Guy goes, oh, you're the guy from Buffalo? Yeah. Opens the cash register, lifts the cash drawer up, grabs 2 tickets to Leafs Ducks, and gives them to me, and we walk across the street and go to the game.
Business was transacted.
That's old school. That was really cool.
The Leafs are here tomorrow, game 81. Why do they need 82? Why can't it just be 80? What's the 2? Nice round number, 80, like it used to be. 82.
I need that revenue, Michael.
I need 3 points. 2 games, 3 points. I don't know. I think I'd take 1 tomorrow and let it all hang. The whole season hangs on Thursday if I get 1 tomorrow. What do you think? Would you take 1 if you had that bet?
I would like your chances of getting 1 because the Leafs, I believe, only need 1 themselves to clinch the division. They are 4 points up on Tampa with 2 games each to go, so they get a point. They're home free. So that game's tight late. they could absolutely just play for overtime.
How about we just have the first ever NHL game where there are no shots on goal until overtime? We got an understanding here, gentlemen? Yeah, that'd be fun to watch. To the draft with Justin Mello after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Caller text.
Just over a week away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft, and pre-draft visits continue to be reported as two more names were added to the Bills: South Carolina defensive tackle TJ Sanders and Kentucky defensive tackle Deon Walker. We also have more draft profiles up at our website, WGR550.com, courtesy of Howard Simon and Joe Marino. Next up for them, defensive lineman Arkansas's Landon Jackson. Raiders edge rusher Max Crosby has been named the assistant general manager of Eastern Michigan. Crosby becomes the first active player to hold the position, and his roles do appear to be high school and portal talent evaluation, managing the NIL budget, and serving as a special assistant to the athletic director. Sabres dropped both games on their Florida road trip to wrap up their road portion of the schedule this season. Just two more games remain. Both are going to be at home tomorrow against the Maple Leafs and then Thursday against the Flyers. We do have 6 games tonight. Some notables: Montreal still trying to clinch that last wild card spot in the East. They've lost 2 in a row, but they host Chicago tonight at 7. Rookie Ivan Demidov expected to make his NHL debut tonight. Then 2 games at 10. The Kings are in Edmonton and Vancouver. They have the Sharks in town. And then in golf, Rory McIlroy does take home his first green jacket. He wins the 2025 Masters, which also gives him a career Grand Slam. McIlroy joins just 5 other male golfers to complete the modern Grand Slam. We'll get more on the weekend when Brian Koziel joins the show at 6. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I don't think that's a very good attitude.
It's Mike Schopp.
You don't think? You don't think? I don't think you should be butting in when I'm talking to my team. You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box. You know who you're talking to.
It's the Bulldog.
I'm talking to the juice box guy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm just thirsty. Why don't you go to hell? No, you go to hell. While you're there, why don't you grab me a juice box? I'm no juice box boy, I'll tell you that. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you
It's
are.
Mike
I'm not.
Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Did you know that Bill Parcells and Marv Levy have the same postseason record? Win-loss record?
I did not know that. No.
Surprise you?
No.
Yeah, you come at me with the Super Bowl losses. Guess what? Yeah? Well, I bet you didn't know that Bill Parcells and Marv Levy have identical postseason win-loss records.
Not just winning percentage, but like the same number of wins and losses.
11-8.
No ties. It's the playoffs.
No ties.
It's the playoffs.
11-8. There you go. With us now on the West Her Hotline, Justin Mello, the Draft Network. Great time of year. Justin, thanks for making time for us.
Well, pleasure's all mine. We're right around the corner here.
Yes, and this thing can't start. I've read the rules until Tennessee says so. At 1 overall. Take us through your perspective, if you would, Justin, on their process here. It turned into, to my ears, maybe a month ago, like, oh yeah, okay, Cam Ward. Maybe around the pro day. Is that how you see it, and has it maybe looked like that to you for longer?
Well, yeah, a little earlier than that, I would say. You know, early on in the process, it certainly felt like they were going to trade the pick or that they were going to take Abdul Carter, number 1 overall. You know, where things started to shift was at the NFL Combine. That was the first time they had a chance to meet with Cam Ward. Remember, he wasn't at any of the All-Star games, right? Didn't go to the Senior Bowl, wasn't at Shrine, where, again, Shedeur Sanders was, and they met with him there. But the Combine was their first opportunity to meet with Ward. They had the formal, right, the 18-minute formal. Not very long. That's the rules if you're not familiar. NFL allows 18 minutes. They were really impressed with him in those 18 minutes and just his attention to detail when it comes to playing quarterback. So what did they do from there? They scheduled the top 30 visit, you know, the in-person. They brought him to Nashville strategically before free agency opened, by the way, because at that point it was still, are we going to go after a Sam Darnold? Are we going to get into that bidding war? What are we doing at quarterback? Well, he comes to Nashville. He blows that visit out of the water. You know, when they get him on the whiteboard, they're just so impressed with his attention to detail when it comes to playing quarterback. That's really when they started sort of locking it in. Pro Day helped solidify it. A couple days after that, they went back to Nashville. They went back to Miami less than a week later for a private workout with him. The team owner, Amy Adams-Strunk, flew the private jet to that private workout. I mean, that doesn't happen, right? That's how sold they were on him at the time. Only continued solidifying it. You can write it in pen, if you will. It's Cam Ward at number 1 overall.
How good a prospect do you think he is?
I think there are things he does incredibly well. I think the off-script ability is what really, kind of gives him superstar potential, if you will, the ability to throw the football from different arm angles, to maneuver the pocket. Now, mind you, they're coming off of Will Levis, okay, a guy with all the physical ability but cannot maneuver a pocket to save his life. I mean, the truth is that if you watch the tape this past year, they were bad up front, but Will Levis brought a lot of sacks upon himself, and he can't create outside of structure. Cam Ward does those things at an incredibly high level, right? Maneuvering the pocket, beating pressure, buying himself time, again, making the throws off script, different arm angles. Where he gets into trouble is sometimes, if you guys see it, sometimes they're in Buffalo. I mean, Josh Allen's a superstar, but once in a while, those throws become an interception, right? When you're trying to create off script. Mm-hmm. He's got a little bit of that. But they were mostly impressed, again, with the football IQ. And when you turn the tape on, really dive into the X's and O's of his game, you'd be surprised how much you can identify with him kind of noticing pre-snap, post-snap, executing quickly. There's more of that stuff in his game than he gets credit for.
With Justin Mello of the Draft Network on the Titans, who pick first. By the way, Levis and his future, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily ideal to have him, just as young as he is himself, as a backup to Ward, assuming Ward even plays, as early as week 1. Any thought on that? Like, are the Titans like-minded? Maybe you might think trying to make a move with him, or maybe I'm reading it wrong.
Oh, I don't think there's a chance in heck that he's on their roster in 2025. Okay. I mean, look, you read the tea leaves, right? They went out and got 2 veteran quarterbacks in free agency. Now, one of them's not guaranteed to be on the roster in Tim Boyle, but one of them probably is in Brandon Allen. They went out and got this guy who, by the way, used to play for their head coach, Brian Callahan, in Cincinnati. That screams to me he is our veteran backup. A guy who's not going to threaten Cam Ward to take the job, but knows the offense and is going to help him learn the ropes in training camp because he has played in this system before. No, they're going to trade Will Levis. They probably give him for almost anything at this point because they've got no leverage. But worst case scenario, look what happened with Malik Willis last year in a somewhat similar situation where they knew Will Levis was their guy. They let this thing play out. He played preseason. He played training camp. Eventually, they were able to flip him for a draft pick to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've long thought, like we talked early in Josh Allen's career here, Cam Newton was available. Stylistically, there were enough similarities there, but like, if you want your young guy to get a clear runway here to develop, you do not want someone of that stature or even Levis's stature there, because there's still going to be maybe even pockets within the team, let alone the fan base, that like the minute it goes bad for the kid, we got this other guy here and he was this good and whatever, just clear that out of the way. So with all that said, Justin, would you expect Ward to play right away? Do you think that's the plan for him?
I would, yes. They just, again, assuming it's too awkward of a situation, I think, to keep Will Levis on the roster. And they're not going to start, like Brandon Allen was the veteran I was referring to who played under Brian Callahan in Cincinnati. They signed him in free agency. They're not going to start Brandon Allen in week 1, are they? Right? By no stretch of the imagination. And Cam Ward, keep in mind, like people talk about, you've got to be ready to play. This guy played like 5 years in college, right? This is a very experienced. This is not a Jordan Love, coming out of Utah State. Look at last year. I mean, Bo Nix, a lot of football at Oregon and Auburn, came in ready to play. Look at Jaden Daniels, came in ready to play. Cam Ward certainly got the experience to be a week 1 starter. And again, he's impressed them when they put him on the whiteboard. The football IQ is not going to be an issue.
With Justin Mello, how tempting do you think, or maybe it's in the past tense now, tempted, might the Titans have been by either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter? Everybody loves these players. It's kind of the age-old, but the quarterback is so much more important to your success. I wonder how close you might think they ever were to going in those other directions.
Well, I think that was the direction up until, a couple of things, until Cam Ward blew them away, right, again, throughout the process. Now, this didn't make up their mind, the next point I'm about to make, but the Abdul Carter injury, you've got to think, took him out of the running at number 1 overall. I mean, his agent, classic agent speak, when he wasn't working out at the combine, he's going to be ready for pro day and he's going to put on a show. Well, then he wasn't ready for pro day, right? Like, you can take that at 2, 3, 4, 5 overall even, but you can't take it at 1. And in the Titans situation, I know it's a new regime, but people forget they took an injured guy a couple of years ago in the first round in Caleb Farley, and it just blew up in their faces in a major, major way. A lot of the scouts are still there from that Caleb Farley error. So they can't go down that road. They've had a lot of busts in the first round under previous GMs. I mean, the Isaiah Wilson thing, they just can't go down that road where it's an injury guy. There's a question there. With Carter's recovery being so much lengthier than expected, I think that would have taken him out of the running. Now, again, Cam Ward did his job and sold them on him throughout the process. But if he didn't, it would have been trade down or it would have been Travis Hunter.
We started on quarterback here because, of course, the Titans had the first overall pick. I'm curious, Justin, what do you think about the rest of the quarterback? You mentioned Shedeur Sanders at one point early on here in our conversation. What do you think about the rest of the quarterback class, and how many do you think will go on Thursday?
I don't think it's a particularly strong one, and you're getting all the typical smoke signals this type of year with Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe is going to attend the draft, Tyler Shough out of Louisville is a guy that some people in league circles are high on. I'm going to call BS on a lot of this. I mean, maybe I'll look like a fool next Thursday, but I think it's 2 quarterbacks in round 1, and that's it. I think it's the 2 that we thought of from the very beginning in Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And even on Shedeur, it's hard to say where at this point, right? Like, I don't think the Raiders are going to make that move at 6. They invested in Geno Smith, and they want to win now. Believe it or not, with an aging coach in Pete Carroll, who's not really into the whole rebuild thing at this stage in his coaching career. I think New Orleans at 9, there's an underdog shot there, especially with what just happened to Derek Carr, potentially missing this entire season with a shoulder injury. And then you get into the trade-up candidates. I don't think it's going to be Cleveland or the Giants at 2 or 3. That's going to be Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. But maybe one of those teams comes back up. If Cleveland get Travis Hunter at 2, which is the expectation, imagine them coming back up and pairing them back together. Maybe the Giants make that move and come back up after taking Abdul Carter at 3. Or maybe it's someone like Pittsburgh, who are still playing the waiting game with Aaron Rodgers. But as of right now, I don't think it's as straightforward as people thought it was going to be on Shedeur, and I don't think there's going to be more than 2 quarterbacks in the first round.
With Justin Mello, I feel like the running back conversation this year has been a couple of different things. Everybody loves the depth of talent at that position. Everybody loves Genty. The Genty comps are to other historically great prospects, not to other running backs in this class, it seems. Then you have this one, too, is just like where we're at in the NFL, Justin, in assessing running back value. I mean, for years, we just kind of put it all down, and then running backs stopped getting drafted in the first round. But this is a year I think that's going to test that. Would you agree?
I do think you're going to see at least 2 of them in the first round. Now, you'll have some teams who are going to say, it's such a deep class, why would I take a non-premium now when I can get one in? I mean, guys who are going to go in the 5th round this year at running back are 3rd-round picks last year, right? So you're going to get some teams who are going to be willing to take advantage of how deep the class is. But when it comes to a guy like Genty, he is different, right? You can't just say it's a deep class and pair him in there, because I've spoken to teams that think he has Hall of Fame potential. How many players at the position really have Hall of Fame potential at any position, any given year? So he really is special and has separated himself. And the other one that I keep hearing is Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. I think he's the one that's going to go probably earlier than people realize. I think the Chicago Bears will be really tempted there. I think the Dallas Cowboys might be a little tempted if he's still there. I think the Raiders might be the ones that take Genty at number 6. When I think of Pete Carroll and I think of the way he played winning football in Seattle, it was running the ball, right? It was Marshawn Lynch. It was kind of keeping the passing attempts down, having a stable. They were the worst team in the league last year running the football, and they don't have anything in the room now. So that screams they're going running back early. But I think the Cowboys and the Bears are other teams in the top 12 that will consider it. I think the Bears are sneaky there. I believe they're picking at number 10. You got a new head coach. Remember, and Ben Johnson, who took Jahmyr Gibbs or had Jahmyr Gibbs. They took him early a couple years ago. They were criticized for it. But like heck, if they didn't make that work, with him and David Montgomery as a 1-2 punch. Ben Johnson doesn't have that in Chicago right now. So watch out for the Bears next Thursday, potentially taking a back at number 10.
Do you think Jacksonville might be possible for him, Genty, at 5?
I would be surprised. I think they like what they've got. This past year, I don't think Etienne was quite as good as they expected him to be. But they had that other kid in there that ran the football really well for them. They've got a 1-2 punch. I think they're going to like something else that's on the board at number 5 when they come on the clock. I think if a pass rusher is there, I think more so an interior guy, but Mason Graham is probably what I would predict at this point for them at number 5. I think they would consider a Jalen Walker if he's there. Certainly we're not expecting Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter to be there, but they would sprint the card to the podium if they are. But I think they're likelier to go with like a Mason Graham, a Jalen Walker, maybe even a Will Johnson, the cornerback, because they couldn't stop a nosebleed against the pass last year. Jacksonville could, and they've got still got some serious holes there in the defensive backfield, even after free agency.
Seeing as how Mike brought up Jacksonville, let's just take a run through the Titans' entire division. Tennessee starting over at quarterback anyway, so we'll see how long that takes to get up and running. Jacksonville obviously has Lawrence and committed big money to him, but that's been rocky. New coach now again. Houston took a step back after the season before. Like, they were a darling at this time last year, I think, everywhere. And they had a good year, but they didn't ascend to, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore region of the AFC. And then you've got the Colts. Maybe they're the most interesting, considering what they invested in Anthony Richardson just 2 years ago, and now are sort of, waffling. There's Daniel Jones. There's going to be a competition. The division seems, Houston's there, and they look maybe like an immovable object for the time being, but the rest of it seems pretty up in the air.
Yeah, look, the Titans are hoping they can get Cam Ward to come in and have a Jaden Daniels. Remember, Jacksonville and Houston, before Jacksonville won that division, they were the worst team in the division, right? They came out of nowhere with Trevor Lawrence. Before Houston won that division with C.J. Stroud, they were the worst team in that division, right? And they came out of nowhere with C.J. The Titans are hoping Cam Ward has a similar impact. I'll say this, with Houston, one of the most confusing off seasons I've seen this summer. I don't know what they've done on the offensive line. I don't know how deep in the weeds you want to get into that, but it was a disaster last year, especially on the interior. I don't know what, provoked them to come in and say, it was terrible. Let's trade the Pro Bowl left tackle and Laramie Tunzel and figure out what else we're doing up front. Not many teams picking as late as Houston are that you could say they definitely have to do something. The Houston Texans have to take an offensive lineman there in the first round, and they've got to come away with multiple of them because the plan hasn't made any sense. CJ was sacked more than any quarterback in the league last year, and they've only gotten worse.
I guess there's two ways of looking at that. When your line is bad and you dump everybody, why? Well, they're going to get better, but they were bad.
They dumped the good one, though, right? You don't dump the good one. They dumped the Pro Bowl left tackle.
Yeah, fair enough. Bulldog, Indianapolis, you thinking about them too? With,
Jones and Richardson, and I don't know. It felt like when Richardson got full disclosure here, Justin, Mike and I both were crushing on Richardson. I said I would have taken him 1 overall. I just loved the talent so much, and probably images of Josh Allen and his development dancing around in my head, and maybe Indy's too. That's been really rocky. What do you think happens there?
They're souring for a reason, right? The decision last year, I understand, it was an inexperienced decision, but the decision to pull himself out of a game because he was tired rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, right? And understandably so. That is a rookie mistake that you just cannot afford, right? And they're going to try to, have him learn from it and get better. But they bring in Daniel Jones, and what they're saying, they mean it. It's going to be a legitimate competition. You can't love where that's at, right? 2 years into this thing. And then and that's not just it, right? It's not just the situation of the decision to pull himself. He completed 47.7% of his passing attempts last year. I mean, it was the most inconsistent tape in the league. He would hit a deep ball out of nowhere. I'm sure. I mean, you guys saw it in the AFC. He would hit a deep ball out of nowhere, and then he misses a 3-yard dig, a 3-yard slant. Right? Like there was just no consistency, game throw to throw, not just game to game. 47% passer, and then he's been injured as well. Right? He got injured a bunch of times in his rookie year. So there are a lot of reasons why they're starting to waffle and say, hey, we're legitimately worried about this. We're going to bring in a veteran, and he's got to earn the job. It's a shame the way that it's gone. I mean, look, everyone was in love with the potential. I mean, he had probably the best combine performance I've ever seen, right? A size, weight, height, speed perspective. But there just hasn't been enough consistency there from a leadership perspective, a health perspective, or from a throwing the football perspective. So there's pretty good reason they're starting to waffle here.
Justin, before you leave us, do you have a Bills thought? They pick 30, and as much as we love the draft, sorry for this, but it's kind of defensive linemen every day, all day, maybe a corner. Not quite as sexy as other years where we talked about, wide receiver constantly. And, sometimes we got that result like last year, other times not. But, again, consensus on this team has been, pretty much defense from almost everybody. Agree?
Yeah, I thought I was coming in to only talk Bills draft today. To be honest with you, I came ready. I do think it's going to be a front seven defender. I mean, you look at a couple things. My recent mock draft, Bills only mock draft, I had them going with Kenneth Grant. Now, I think you can maybe insert a different name in there. A Derek Harmon, I think, would be an underrated candidate from Oregon. You look at what they have on the interior. Daquan Jones, who I was a big fan of, covered in Tennessee for a long time. He's certainly not getting younger, better suited to play a rotational role. I think they got to get something else in there next to Ed Oliver. And look, it's a copycat league. You look at the way the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It was by applying pressure on Patrick Mahomes on a snap-by-snap basis, and it was by keeping a fresh rotation of bodies to get after him, right? I think Sean McDermott, as a defensive-minded head coach, certainly believes in that. And the Bills, it's not new, right? Like, they've tried to keep a deep rotation of pass rushers. They've always invested in the position, at least in my opinion, since McDermott and Bean have been there. But certainly, I think they're going to keep refilling the cupboard, if you will. It'll be D lineman at 30, whether that's edge or D tackle. I think you could make the argument for either or. And then I expect to see an early emphasis on the defensive backfield as well. Cornerback is one I anticipate they'll try to address in the second round. Maybe an outside chance that's the first-round pick if they don't like anything else on the board. But corner, safety, edge, D tackle, I think this is going to be a defense-heavy draft for them. And quite frankly, I think it should be. We've seen what Josh Allen can do with the weapons. We know the offensive line is in terrific standing. So, yes, it's going to be a defense-heavy draft in Buffalo.
Do you have a receiver you like for them by chance in the middle rounds, maybe?
Oh, Lord. I mean, it depends where they take one. I'm a big fan of Jalen Royals from Utah State. Yep. I think he's not getting enough attention. I had them going with a receiver in the fourth round in my mock. I had a guy like Kobe Hudson out of UCF. I think he's a high upside guy. He's quick-footed. He's got great size. He's a good route runner. And I know they brought in Josh Palmer and Curtis Samuel. I think those are short-term solutions. They should look to get a receiver in the middle round. One that I absolutely love is Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. I think would be a great fit for them in the middle rounds. He's been a little forgotten about. He had the injury this past year. This was a 1,000-yard guy in 2022 and 2023. By the way, he recovered in time for the combine, ran a great 40-yard dash. Don't sleep on him. If he's there in the 109, 132 for Buffalo, which I think there's a chance he's there, that would be a steal for them. That guy's going to come in and play good football.
Torrey Horton. I like Royals a lot, too. I think he's visiting or has visited the Bills.
Yep. I saw pictures.
Yeah. Correct. Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Justin. Enjoy the draft. I know you will.
Pleasure's all mine. You gentlemen know where to find me.
All right. Appreciate that. Justin Mello of the Draft Network on X at JustinM_NFL. Why do I need to every time? X is just so dumb.
Well,
Twitter seemed like a catchy, very popular, successful brand.
Yeah.
Why change it? X? What is even X? Anyway, I'm not worth billions. What do I know?
Call it whatever you like. It doesn't matter.
Well, you want to call it what it is.
We want to call it what people are calling it. And I don't ever hear anyone but you say X.
Really? I hear it a lot.
When you're teasing me.
Okay.
Like if Bulldog calls it X. Like no one, but I don't know. It's not like my friends are active on it. So I don't really have, I guess I'm saying I don't have a lot of conversations about it. So maybe I don't really have any idea what people are calling it.
Maybe. Jalen Royals, like that idea? Like a different idea more? 803-0550 for your thoughts, and we'll talk some more about Rory McIlroy's win at the Masters yesterday. Brian Koziol joins us at 6 on that subject. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Lines open. This is WGR.
Never
Away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft, pre-draft visit reports continue to roll in. More names today were added for the Bills. South Carolina defensive tackle DJ Sanders, Kentucky defensive tackle Deion Walker, and then some wide receivers, Colorado State's Torrey Horton and Virginia Tech's Jalen Lane. We also have more draft profiles up at our website, WGR550.com, courtesy of Howard Simon and Joe Marino. Next up there is defensive lineman Arkansas's Landon Jackson. Raiders edge rusher Max Crosby has been named the assistant general manager of Eastern Michigan football. Crosby becomes the first active player to hold that position, and his roles appear to be high school and portal talent evaluation, managing the NIL budget, and serving as a special assistant to the athletic director. In baseball, some late afternoon games today. Just after 7, the Yankees have the Royals in town. The Blue Jays host the Braves. And then at 7:40, the Mets are in Minnesota versus the Twins. And in golf, Rory McIlroy takes home his first green jacket. He wins the 2025 Masters, also gives him the career Grand Slam. Rory joins just 5 other golfers to complete the modern Grand Slam. We'll get more on the weekend as Brian Koziol will join the show at 6. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Pierce added to the Buffalo room. I mean, the whole defensive line is extremely deep. You can ease him in and learn from a whole bunch of professionals. Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Michael Hoyt, Joey Bosa. And you just add Pierce in there and just go ahead, compete, see what you got. It's not a short-term need, certainly, but a long-term, hey, if you could get a Pierce as a starting edge, a guy that's got top 10 talent at pick 30, that's intriguing. Chavon Riveldo I think is a top 15 talent at corner coming off the injury and fits a massive need. So I think that's where I'm going to go here for Buffalo.
Couple of names I haven't heard mentioned very often for the Bills at pick 30 right there. That's Steve Palazzolo. He and Sam Monson, their podcast, Check the Mic, they do a lot of podcast episodes, and right now it's all about the draft, long mock drafts, everything you want. Jalen Royals, the receiver from Utah State, he's becoming, for me, what you say about him is exactly what our guest just said, Justin Mello, which is kind of under the radar. I'm not sure he really is. Sam had him as his wide receiver 4. Royals. That's the early second round.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
So I like the idea. He's not big. He's not like exactly a burner either. He reminds me of Diggs. I'm sure that's not the right comparison, but route running and, he's 6 foot, not a big guy, catches everything. So
that sounds like Diggs.
Yeah, maybe it's not too far off.
Not too big, not super fast, but crafty and getting open and reliable. And
that's the extent of the comparison I'm trying to make.
Make a career out of that. I'm into anybody. While you were off, Sale, the one day, I think he was on with me on Thursday, and Sale's just beautiful. As he was getting ready to leave, I'm leaving. I'm going to be gone for a week. I want to leave you with this, because I asked him, I think, near the end of our conversation, because it dawns on me sometimes that I don't anyway, usually pin Sale down on, you got a guy, we talk, you'll ask me, I'm crushing on this safety from South Carolina or this guy or that guy. And Sale, I don't feel like I ever really asked that question. So I'm you got a favorite idea? Is there something you like or don't like or anything like that? And he thought about it for a moment and said, you know what, I want to leave you with this. I would be, I don't know if he said stunned, but at least surprised or very surprised if they don't use all 3 of those early picks, 2 in the second and 1 in the first on defense. And I thought, wow, okay, that's worth putting to the audience. So I ended up talking about that a lot on Thursday. And I think it's really ignoring receiver. I do think I get the defense point, and our guest just said it again last segment. You see what the Eagles did. Yeah, it took me a week to get past the Super Bowl and realize I don't need to beat them by 20. I just need to beat them, and I've almost beaten them 2 years in a row. And yes, the defense has not had good days in either one of those games. I also had the ball in our hands with 2 minutes to go or thereabouts with a touchdown to win the game or at least put me in the lead. So, I don't know. some people still might be overreacting to the Eagles and because I'm not going to build a team that can do that to the Eagles this offseason or do that to the Chiefs in this offseason. Maybe you could do it over the course of 2 or 3 drafts, but that's not going to just happen. They're going to flip a switch and draft 3 guys, and all of a sudden I'm going to make Patrick Mahomes look scared or something. So, and they still, I think, have a need for another receiver, either in the system, like as a development guy, or actually on the field. So I don't think I'm down for all 3 of those picks going on defense. I think a receiver is called for by Friday night.
803-0550. Here's Pete with us. Hi, Pete.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. 2 points, one with respect to the draft, one with respect to Allen. If I were operating the Bills, this is what I would do if I was operating the draft. Trade back and then back into that like 35 to 90 portion of the draft, picks 35 to 90. Optimally trade James Cook. I think he had a very good season, but I think that had a lot to do with offensive line play and how teams defend Allen. And then with respect to Allen, I actually think that so we're talking about speed at receiver and things like that. I think we're at like year 6 or 7 with Allen on the team. And I think the team's moves or lack of moves kind of show that he might not have the most accurate deep arm. Because I struggle to come up with a receiver that they've gotten who's a burner, like a decent burner. Not like Bum Stevenson from Houston or the corpse of Valdez Scantling, like a legitimate prime of career deep threat. And it's not because they're cheap. I mean, they're spending money all over the board, but like, where's the deep speed? And it's been years. And so I just think the guy's obviously, he's got a rocket arm, but for whatever reason, maybe it's the wind in the stadium. I think he struggles to throw deep.
If you remember, Pete, when he was younger, that was a recurring thing, missing the long ball. And that's not always the quarterback's fault. But as much talent as he showed, even if he was erratic, like first couple of years as a player, that was a consistent thing that he would miss on a long attempt. So I've never thought of this point you're making as like a judgment on him. I feel like it's more of a failure of the organization, but maybe you have a point here.
Yeah. And what do you guys think about that draft strategy? So moving back and then back into round 4.
I think if it's predicated on getting something substantive for James Cook, I think it's flimsy, because I think that's going to be a hard. I sitting here today, and not that you're saying different, I'd be surprised. You're just suggesting they do this. I'd be surprised if they shop him, because I just don't think they'll get return that will satisfy them, or for that matter, us. Not that we really matter out here, the fans, but I think with the window that they're in, it will make more sense for them to keep going and expect that Cook is going to come in and honor the last year of his contract. Now, if they get to a point where they feel like that's not going to happen, if that happens before the draft, then maybe they pivot and do something. But I don't know. My money at this point would be on he plays under that contract, and then they figure out what they're doing with him next offseason, and most likely that means he's leaving.
I have a few thoughts, and they kind of bump into each other. I would always be for trading down. I've said it forever. The draft is an imperfect thing, and it's one more bullet. So I'm always for that. I wonder if the Bills doing what they did last year, which is trading down twice to get out of the first round, might be a reason why they wouldn't do it here. That doesn't have to be a good reason, but I don't know. I feel like that you wouldn't want to be labeled necessarily for that, or you might, but I don't think Bean would. He's traded up a number of times, so that doesn't have to be a thing. What you have in this draft, if they were to move out of the first round, you have this logical guess people make about the Browns and the Giants moving up for their quarterback there, and there's a couple different ways that could go. Those teams draft right at the beginning of the second round. This would be last year. if the Bills did this. Start like if it's Cleveland, have the first pick of the second round, which I think is great. The Bills didn't really take advantage of it last year, having the whole day to negotiate with teams. They just went and picked their guy, which I thought was disappointing. The value of that move might be a fourth. And then I get to this point. Oh, by the way, the Browns and the Giants also have picks in the late third. Well, actually, I can make this work. Is that me or is that you?
Sorry.
If this math kind of works, say the Giants want to trade up for Shadur Sanders or Jackson Dart from the second round to the first round. The Bills have the 10 picks. You make the point a lot. Sal's made the points. They're not going to want necessarily all those picks. So you throw in a fifth or even a fourth. They have 2 fourths. So I'm giving up pick 30 and say pick 132. And that'd be equivalent to pick 34 and pick 99, which is late third. Again, the Browns and the Giants both have an early third and a late third. So maybe the math works there. Then I have the same number of picks, and maybe I can even do better than that. I like the third round. I think in this draft, and I'm not sure it's ever different, but I feel like it is with, like the caller is mentioning 35 to 90. Why is he saying that? Because, like you say, people seem to think it's even earlier than that, possibly in the first round.
I'm more like 15 to 60.
Okay.
But
that's like a whole tier of one.
Right.
If that extends to the third round, I want to be in there. I think a third round pick is great for flexibility. Somebody's, getting antsy and you have that pick, but they don't have it. They can't engage without the third. You can trade one of your seconds and get one. That's what I'd want to do. I want to be in the third round, and especially if it's kind of just a flat tier, because some of the guys you're going to love that you have much better grades on are going to be on the board in the middle of the third round because of the way this draft sets up. So I'd want that. I think that'd be my hope for the Bills, is the Giants or the Browns want to do that. They don't pick Sanders up high. Now, like the betting odds are not expecting that to happen. But they want to get in. If he makes it to 30, you get the 50-year option there. The idea of the Browns having Hunter and Sanders, both from Colorado, I think that's pretty cool. For a team that never wins anything, you've got something there. You're getting away from the Watson stench. And here, we're going to put the Heisman Trophy winner and his quarterback, who's Deion Sanders' kid, on the field. Let's have some fun. We're Cleveland. I know they say it's not supposed to be fun, but maybe we can make it fun. I think that kind of is more than fun, though. I think that's also, sensible.
They probably are going to have to do something. I mean, dramatic, the Browns. I don't know. But something more dramatic than re-signing Joe Flacco, which happened late in the week, by the way, in case you missed that while you were traveling to Canada to watch curling.
I pulled over and sobbed when I heard it.
But, I mean, not that... I mean, Myles Garrett got his money. He got the bag. He's committed. But I assume there was some talk. Well, maybe I shouldn't assume that, about the direction, because that was the thought initially, was that I don't care about going to Canton. I want to win the Super Bowl. And so get me out of here. And, here's the truck full of cash. I'm staying. What's the plan at quarterback? Joe Flacco? You're going to have to get busy there pretty quick. With him and them and the team, I think. So I think that makes sense from their end. And not that allowing either the Giants or the Browns, or some other team for that matter, to come back into the first round to draft their quarterback should stick to you the way that allowing the Kansas City Chiefs to draft a receiver who... Objectively, I think you could certainly argue the Bills had a need for that style of player. Whatever reason, they didn't like him or didn't like him in that spot, so they didn't do it, and they let the Chiefs do it by making the trade. Where you started is kind of where I am. They'll never say it. I mean, nor would I want them to. I'd be stunned if they traded back this year out of the first round after doing it last year and the results.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about the results, but you could.
Yeah.
Maybe you should.
And again, that's not necessarily a good reason. No, you still have a job to do, and you have last year doesn't matter now. All right, what's how do I max out here? What do I get max value out of this situation I'm in? But I just would be stunned if they traded back this year.
I'd want to have the first pick.
At least in the first round anyway. Sorry.
Yeah. I'd want to have the first pick of the second round every year. Just give me. By the way, it's also kind of like a dream to just have a whole day where it starts with me. So what do you want? You want somebody right here? Let me know. Let's deal. Thank you, Pete. Good thoughts there. Getting connected with the fans brought to you by Northtown Kia, Western New York's #1 Kia dealer. Shop online at northtownkia.com. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. We'll be right back. Bulldog here. Thursday for our annual pre-draft special, 4 to 6:30. It's basically this show. We're streaming live on YouTube then, as we're doing now. The latest insight and mock draft predictions, insider information. All of our guys will stop by, Jeremy, Joe, Nate, and Sal. The show presented by your Upstate Honda dealers. Visit your local Upstate Honda dealer today for excellent deals on the entire Honda lineup, including the all-new Honda Passport. Again, that is this Thursday, which will mark 1 week from round one. No more mocking. That's the real thing. April 24th. It's also the night Carlin Hartman goes into the Grand Island Athletics Hall of Fame.
Oh, boy. How about that?
So I got a choice to make.
Oh, you got to go support your friend.
I got to go to the ceremony. Just got to know also not to have my face in my phone the entire time.
Yeah.
The draft, Bulldog.
I don't have to go, do I? We've talked to him twice in the last couple of weeks. Like, I don't know. We're not.
You don't have to go.
I didn't grow up with him or anything.
You don't have to go.
I'm going to watch the draft.
Here's Rocco next. Hello.
I'm happy for him, though. Hi, Rocco.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call. Big fan of the show. Big fan of my Buffalo Bills. I just wanted to touch on one thing before I begin here. And I know that the previous caller mentioned Josh Allen's accuracy or lack thereof, but I do recall a couple of years ago in the playoff game at home against Kansas City, he laid that ball right in 14 hands. Right. Wasn't able to get that catch made that could have swung in our favor, or at least given us an opportunity of winning that game. But so I just wanted to.
Good recall, sure, yeah.
Right.
You know, and you saying that now, like I don't want to start like a runaway train of like big throws he's made that didn't get caught. But the game he hurt his elbow in at New York against the Jets, he also launched like a 70-yard pass right in stride to Gabe Davis that Davis let go through his arms.
That's correct.
All right, anyway, go ahead with your rest of your point.
Yeah, and I love 17, and I think it was mentioned before. I don't want to take credit for the comment, but he needs to get some help from his friends sometimes.
Okay.
So, anyway, just want to touch on the draft real quick. I hope the Bills utilize their draft capital to focus on the defensive side of the ball. I hope they move up if they have to in order to get the defensive tackle from Michigan, Kenneth Grant. Love the player. Again, I'm not a scout or whatever, but I absolutely love the guy. I hope they use the other two picks on a corner, whomever they choose, and an edge rusher. I do think, I agree with you, Michael, that they hopefully are able to get up into the third round. And if it is a receiver that they covet, I really like Isaiah Higgins from Iowa State.
Jalen Higgins, right?
Excuse me.
Jaden Higgins.
Yeah, two Jalen's there. Yeah, right. Sorry. Jalen Higgins, love the size, can catch everything. I mean, if anyone watches 89's podcast, he will break down the intricacies of his games, his route running, and whatnot. Not sure if he would be available in the third round, but if it's receiver that we seek, then perhaps that might be a guy in the third round to take. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You have a good.
You too. Jaden Higgins.
Right.
Sorry. Jalen Royals. Jalen Noel. Jalen Milrow. You're
Jalen's and Jaden's all over the place. That's what happens when you're born in the early 2000s.
And Jackson comes with an X these days, as in Jackson Dart. Okay. You want to be mad about the Chiefs again? You want something else to be mad about the Chiefs for?
I don't think I need a new reason. Well, no, I mean, sure.
Stay tuned.
Fuel for the fire.
Not everybody does. If so, you've been warned. You could say it like that. But if you want, I got another new thing to be mad about the Chiefs. That I got to this from something that was said earlier. 803-0550. People are calling in with their draft crushes. If you've got one, let's hear it. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
April 24th at 7 p.m. at Resurgence Brewing, Chicago Street, downtown Buffalo. Tickets are $45 and include pizza and all-you-can-drink beer and well drinks. Enjoy live analysis, local vendors and giveaways all night, including an all-inclusive fantasy football party for 12 at Resurgence Brewing. No purchase necessary. Get your tickets now at resurgencebrewing.com before they sell out.
Dunn Tire has grown into a pillar.
Just over a week away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft, and pre-draft visit reports continue to roll in. Some more names were added to the Bills. South Carolina defensive tackle TJ Sanders, Kentucky defensive tackle Deion Walker, and then some wide receivers, Colorado State's Torrey Horton and Virginia Tech's Jalen Lane. We also have more draft profiles up at our website, WGR550.com, courtesy of Howard Simon and Joe Marino. And next up, out of Arkansas, defensive lineman Landon Jackson. Raiders edge rusher Max Crosby has been named the assistant general manager of Eastern Michigan. Crosby does become the first active player to hold the position, and his role appears to be high school and portal talent evaluation, managing the NIL budget, and serving as a special assistant to the athletic director. Sabres are off today. They do drop both games on their Florida road trip to wrap up the road portion of their schedule this season. Just two more games remain. Both are going to be at home tomorrow against the Maple Leafs and then Thursday against the Flyers. We do have some late afternoon baseball tonight, just after 7. The Yankees have the Royals in town and the Blue Jays host the Braves. Then at 7:40, the Mets are in Minnesota versus the Twins. And then in golf, Rory McIlroy does take home his first green jacket. He wins the 2025 Masters, also gives himself a career Grand Slam. McIlroy joins just 5 other golfers to complete the modern Grand Slam. We'll get more on the weekend in just about an hour when Brian Koziel joins the show at 6. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
So I hung out with some second graders, and I played Connect 4 with a second grader who beat me. I feel like a second grader and an adult is a good matchup in Connect 4. I'm saying that now, maybe because I lost to a kid who's 7.
It's Mike Schopp.
This kid, and I beat him one time, and then we played, and it wasn't like I was just sitting there all day staring at the board, right? I mean, there's no excuse, though. There's no excuse for losing to a 7-year-old at Connect 4.
And the Bulldog.
He had me 3 different ways at the end, and twice he missed the winning play.
Yeah.
And then a third time, he had another, 3 turns in a row, he had a winning play. And how bad a job is that for me? How bad a job is it in Connect 4?
You had 3 match points in Connect 4?
He had 3 match points.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
The second time, I'm like, I'm surprised you didn't see that. And I'm sort of giving it to him. And then I make my play, and they're like, oh, he's got another one. I didn't see that at all.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Are you ready to be mad about the Chiefs again? Oh, gosh, yes. I mean, and it feels entirely new, even. Like as though 10 minutes ago you didn't mention this because I kind of forgot. So that's awesome. Short-term memory. So it's going great.
So we'll get to your calls again in a moment on the draft or whatever. We talked about Rory McIlroy quite a bit at the beginning of the show today. Want to do more of that. But the draft is next week. Our guest from the Draft Network, Justin Mello, you asked him about each team in the AFC South. And he was talking about the Texans. I was thinking about the Texans as he was talking. They made the second round each of the last 2 years. He mentioned how the first year they got good is when they were the worst team in the NFL when the year before they won that division. I remember talking to Joe Ostrowski about the odds. Like, isn't Houston live here maybe? He's like, yes. And, of course, I did nothing about it. But they did win the division each of the last 2 years and won their first game. There was the game against the Browns when Flacco played 2 years ago, and then what was last year? Oh, Herbert.
Right.
They kind of blew out both of those teams. Then they go to Kansas City. How well do you remember the second round game, the day before Bills-Ravens, is Houston-Kansas City? Divisional playoffs.
It felt for most of the game, if not all of the game, like all the Texans needed to do was like make a couple plays or something, right? Like it was a 2024 Chiefs game, wasn't it? Like did they have under 200 yards of offense in the game or something?
212.
Okay. And it just was feeble. Like the Texans just could not get there. I'm trying to remember. I don't feel like I watched that as closely as I may have wanted to. I think I might have been out for the first part of it and then missed some bit of it, changing venues or something from like a bar to home or something. But it felt like I just needed all play and Houston could not make all play.
Right. 212 yards of offense. This is my point. This is me getting you mad about the Chiefs again.
Yeah.
It absolutely was a typical 2024 Kansas City Chiefs game. 212 yards of offense and 14 first downs in a playoff win, which, by the way, they were favored by 9. They won by 9 because they took an intentional safety at the end, which had to be fun for the bettors.
That also hurt me.
I mean, they had it covered until the intentional safety. They couldn't risk losing with 15 seconds left, up 11. They couldn't take that chance. So you can be mad about Adam for that, too. But I did a stat head search. 212 yards of offense, going back to 1990. A team winning a playoff game with that few yards. And there are 12 games. But still, it's only 12 games. And they won by, could have won by double digits.
So teams have won playoff games 12 times since what year did you say?
Since 1990.
Okay. That's a pretty hardy time frame. Yeah.
With 220 yards or fewer.
Okay.
I went 220.
Yeah.
And the Bills are 2 of the 12 teams. The Bills have 2 playoff wins since 1990 in which they had 220 yards of offense or fewer.
Is the Denver AFC title game one of them?
Yes. 213. So think about that game, if you remember it. How absolutely incapable, shockingly incapable the Bills were of moving the ball that day. They had more yards by 1 in that game than the Chiefs had against Houston. And yet, they also scored 3 points on offense in that game, though.
Yeah. It's also, for the era, like sort of 212 yards now, 220 yards now. I don't know. Should be escalated to like 300 or something. I don't know.
You're saying now it's easier to gain yards?
Yeah, I think it doesn't have to be right.
There's an inflation rate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, because even those Bills, like, Kelly's the best player in the league one of those years. And what did he throw for? 3,000 yards? Like now the best quarterback in the league throws for 5. So yards just, it's like everything. Everything costs more. Like, everybody gets more yards. So I don't know. I'm even madder at the Chiefs.
See how much fun this is?
What's the other Bills game, by the way? Do I want to? Is it the Ravens, the first Ravens home game?
Taron Johnson.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. The 2000, the legendary 2000 Ravens. Beat Tennessee in the playoffs that year, 24-10 with 6 first downs.
So
you're saying they had a historically great defense.
That's how you get to be legendary.
That's right.
Yes, that's what. Not all legends are myths. That sounds like a rightly earned legendary status.
This is a divisional round game at Tennessee, where the Titans were 6-point favorites, 2,000 Ravens. The game is 10-10 into the fourth quarter. They take the lead on a blocked field goal return, and then there's a 50-yard pick six by Ray Lewis for 24-10. They had 6 first downs to the Tennessee Titans 23. They had 134 yards of offense, and they had the ball for 19 minutes. Good enough to win. Better take that down.
That is incredible. That is incredible.
That is like such a flex.
Wow.
To win like that.
Yeah.
The Packers beat San Francisco in the 1997 playoffs, 96 season, 35-14 with 210 yards of offense. They scored 35 points. Anyway, so there's your anemic but successful playoff history trivia for the day.
I mean, at least the Bills have done it pretty recently, too. So it's not like the Chiefs. I'm making this point about how it was harder to get yards, back when the Bills did that with the Broncos in the 90 playoffs. But the Bills doing that in the 20 playoffs, that Baltimore game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, home run throwback is on this list. Tennessee had 194 yards of offense that day and won.
Well, they cheated.
Sometimes it takes that.
I mean, they cheated.
They wanted it more.
The officials cheated. Whatever. The play was illegal. Shouldn't have counted.
Some say.
I don't care what anybody says.
You clearly don't.
Sorry.
You demonstrate that all the time. Oh, maybe this should wait, because we want to talk about the draft and also Rory. This is Rory adjacent, the Masters. I mentioned to my wife as we were watching it, it was, riveting. You did not have to be like a serious sports fan to get caught up in that. It's gorgeous to look at. Just very compelling sports yesterday.
If my wife had been awake for it and wanting to hang out with me and her son, one of her sons, and our friend John Gale, which she is prone to do, I guarantee you she would have had to leave the room the minute Rory hit it into the creek.
Really?
Yeah, because she can't sit in the room and watch Bills games with us. And it's not because, my son and I are not, there's not histrionics going on in there. Like, I'm just not in that, I'm getting ready to probably work, depending, afterwards. I'm not in there drinking beer and throwing stuff and swearing. I'm watching the game. I'm trying to take mental notes, sometimes taking actual notes. But when it gets tense, she's got to walk away. They get tripped some wire for her from when, we were watching Owen when he was 18 playing, some high stakes games. It's just like, I don't like this feeling. I'm leaving. She couldn't leave. Oh, she wouldn't leave when it was him playing, when he, was playing hockey. But she can walk out of the living room when she gets tense, or we're getting tense, and she can feel it. Like, I'm out. This is not, I don't enjoy this feeling.
You probably, this is one we've really never talked about for long, that feeling watching your kids play. You're probably both that you miss it, but you don't.
100%.
You miss it because
100%
you're alive. You feel something, and it's very nerve-wracking, and you're maybe a little bit scared of different possible outcomes, but also, like, I'd like to go back once and sort of relive some of that.
Yeah.
And I am with my kids playing lacrosse or hockey or whatever they're doing, very much like that too. Like, it's just, I need to be here. I want to be here for multiple reasons, for myself, for them. But I also, am very tight. I watched my daughter play on Saturday. My hands did not leave my pockets, and my mouth did not open the whole game. I had to work at that. But I'm going to keep my power, right? Everything I'm feeling is going to stay with me and thinking. And so, it's physical. And your kids could get hit, or sometimes
they could be the hitter.
They're the ones.
Yeah, right.
They're the problem. It's not always a problem, but yeah, it's very tense. I don't get that way watching TV pretty much ever. But yesterday was great. Yesterday was really great.
Yesterday was maybe as close as I could get for something that isn't the Bills or the Sabres. I do still get, I'm not saying I don't get tense. AFC Championship game, divisional round, whatever. Lose, you go home. The Bills, especially, year over year, it sort of builds. But even with that said, I was way more emotional watching the golf yesterday because it's not a work space kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just free to just be whatever. Whereas with the football, I'm thinking about how do I feel in this moment? Will I want to talk about how I felt at this moment? I'm trying to control it more than just sort of let it go, I guess. But anyway.
There were two moments this weekend where I did literally jump out of my seat. And one was the McElroy shot into the creek at 13. Because I just thought it was, as interested as I was, it was over. I mean, he was way ahead.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I wish one of the announcers would just bring themselves to say that. If he doesn't screw up, this thing he's going to win in a walk.
Right.
That was happening.
It's a victory lap coronation thing instead of a competitive, tense situation.
They really wanted you to think for a lot of that stretch in the middle that it was actually close when it really wasn't close. It got close, of course, as close as it gets. But when he dunked that third shot, oh no, this did not seem like this. I did not see this coming. Nobody saw that coming.
No.
Despite his, somewhat relatively kind of erratic performances in that tournament in, big spots here in recent years, still, he's perfect here. He got lucky, too, a couple times earlier in the week. And, you need that, probably, they would say. So that one, I mean, wow, now this is really on. Suddenly you're doing the math, right?
Mm-hmm.
If this is a double, then Rose, here, it could be tied, sort of out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
That was shocking. And, you could have also reacted accordingly to a lot else that happened after that, where he's got it, then he doesn't, then he's got it, then he doesn't. I mean, just that was an amazing day for that ride. The other was, and this is true, I don't know if you'll be impressed, but this is true.
Mm-hmm.
The other moment where I jumped up was Everton's goal. I did. I literally did. It was Nottingham Forest, whatever. I can't name three guys on the team, if that, but it's extra time 0-0. Imagine that. Extra time 0-0 and a counter, this amazing pass and finish. I'm like, wow! I jumped up and screamed for Everton. I didn't know I had that in me.
Good to be alive.
I did not know I had a scream.
Right.
The capacity to scream after an Everton goal.
The significance of the goal was what?
No, they won.
They won.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
There's no place for them to go in the standings.
Nothing happening really.
No.
Yeah. No.
But I did enjoy that.
Well, good for you.
My wife and I talked about Jeremy's take on egg salad. This was a shocking take. The whole thing where he said he wouldn't take a Bills Super Bowl if he had to eat an egg salad sandwich.
Yeah. He's got an egg thing. It's hard.
Okay. I mean, we all have our stuff.
Yeah.
And like he said about it, maybe yours is different. You can't understand mine. I might not be able to understand yours.
Right.
But my wife and I were talking about this, and she said a lot of people hate egg salad. Is that true? She thinks Jeremy has a lot of company.
Well,
she will get egg salad sandwiches all the time at her work. And she says the people she works with act very unfavorably.
Yes. Well,
it sort of grosses them out.
It is. I think this is right. It's a love-hate thing, food-wise, big time. Now, I don't know that it extends to I wouldn't eat it to whatever.
Save the world.
Yeah, right. I mean, but I found this out when we started getting close. Oh my God, is it 15 years ago now? We started our friendship sort of hit another level. He started coming to the cottage regularly. He met Molly, and they got engaged at our cottage that we no longer have. It's not even standing anymore. It finally got knocked down. But a weekend they'd bring the camper and okay, Sunday morning, right? I'm making breakfast, right? I don't eat eggs. You don't eat eggs? Any kind of eggs? Nope. Really? Okay. And it took me probably 2 or 3 times to I think I more than one time put a big breakfast together for everyone, and Jared doesn't eat. I didn't remember it for a while, so it's
it was that foreign a concept.
It's just not. It's not just egg salad. which I can understand someone even liking eggs but not liking egg salad. It smells. That's the lunch point that your wife is probably getting. Like everyone within a certain radius knows somebody's having an egg salad sandwich. It's like heating fish up in the work microwave. Like egg salad is a pungent, strong, distinctive. Is better because I happen to like it a lot.
Me too.
But I think it's probably rates pretty high on a list of foods people are mad about. I would bet.
Remember Michael Kay saying he'd never eaten an egg a few years ago? Remember talking about that?
No? I don't.
Michael Kay, the Yankees announcer.
This is definitely the kind of thing we would have covered.
He said, I think it was milk and eggs. He said he'd never tried either.
Never tried.
I think he said that. He'd never had, I think it was milk. He'd never had eggs. I think it was milk because they were both incredible. He'd never, like as a kid even, he'd never been given.
Well, I don't judge Jer harshly for this egg thing, in part because you're right. We all have our stuff. You know what it's funny. It just came up because of the Masters, right? They have egg salad sandwiches and these pimento cheese sandwiches. You know what I will not put in my mouth? Pimento cheese.
Sounds like you shouldn't go to the Masters.
The late, great Toutant. Everyone at the table, like, the pimento cheese on the biscuits. Just looking at it,
no.
I go, like, I know, no. I'm not even sure what it really tastes like. I just can't look at it and think I want to put that in my mouth. I just have
That's it.
I have an aversion to it. I can't do it.
That's it.
Certain hot sauces... The National Taco Place has, different ad campaigns that come and go. And the latest is some kind of new special hot sauce.
Wow.
And it looks like red plastic to me. Hot sauce, sriracha is an example of this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you that it is delicious. I believe my wife when she tells me I might like it. I cannot squirt that out of a bottle onto something that I want to eat and then put it in my mouth. It doesn't look like food to me. It looks like...
The color.
Yeah. Just completely freaks me out. Mm-hmm. And I love hot sauce.
Oh.
But I cannot
Let the record show.
I cannot do that.
What's the perfect bread for egg salad? Give me a Kaiser roll.
It's got to be soft, for sure.
It's got to be soft.
Because it is not... I mean, that's a disaster waiting to happen if you, put that on a harder bread.
Right, it squirts out.
Take a bite and it's over. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So you need soft. Yeah.
Got to have Kaiser roll, celery, small diced celery for a little crunch, pickles, pickle relish.
Sure.
That's a win. But she said a lot of people hate it, and you're saying likewise.
I'm backing that up. I think that tracks. Yeah.
Earlier, draft pick idea of the day, Jalen Royals, wide receiver out of Utah State. It's visiting with the Bills, so there's some interest on the Bills' end. A little bit more about him. And I mentioned Sam Monson earlier, Steve Palazzolo, their podcast and their rankings. Sam has Royals as wide receiver 4. They both have him ahead of somebody who is expected to go by the betting odds in the first round. We'll talk about the draft some more. 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
A week away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft, and it's been a very busy day today in terms of pre-draft visit reports, specifically for the Bills. A number of names added to that list. South Carolina defensive tackle TJ Sanders, Kentucky defensive tackle Deion Walker, Kentucky cornerback Maxwell Harrison, Colorado State wide receiver Torrey Horton, and Virginia Tech wide receiver Jalen Lane. We also do have more profiles up at our website, WGR550.com, courtesy of Howard Simon and Joe Marino. And next up is Arkansas defensive lineman Landon Jackson. Raiders edge rusher Max Crosby has been named the assistant general manager of Eastern Michigan. Crosby becomes the first active player to hold the position, and his roles do appear to be high school and portal talent evaluation, managing the NIL budget, and serving as a special assistant to the AD. Late afternoon baseball tonight, just after 7. The Yankees have the Royals in town, and the Blue Jays host the Braves. Then at 7:40, the Mets, they are in Minnesota versus the Twins. And in golf, Rory McIlroy takes home his first green jacket. He wins the 2025 Masters, also giving himself a career Grand Slam. McIlroy joins just 5 other male golfers to complete the modern Grand Slam. And we'll get more on this as Brian Koziel will join the show in just about a half hour at 6. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I love his instincts. I love his route running. I love his ability to adjust to the football. Yards after the catch, it's all immediate. It's instant. Tell me why I'm crazy.
No, dude, you're not, man. I mean, I was surprised when I saw his film.
He's pretty young to playing wide receiver. Like, he's got like a season and a half of play at wide receiver at all. But he's got crazy polish for someone that's that new to playing the position. If I'm the scout in the room, I am banging the table for Jalen Royals.
Sam Monson, Steve Palazzolo, check the mic. Really good, thorough, lengthy podcasts. They're going pretty much every day with the draft coming up next week. Jalen Royals, wide receiver, Utah State. Not huge, not super fast, but you heard Sam. The package is appealing. He is Sam Monson's wide receiver 4. I bet you know the names, not including Travis Hunter probably, but I bet you know the names. Ted McMillan, the clear betting favorite right now to be the first receiver picked. Again, Hunter not included in that.
I have a guess which guy you mentioned is targeted as a first-round pick, or mostly thought of as a first-round pick, that Sam has this guy Royals ahead of.
As does Steve.
Okay.
And who is that?
I'll bet it's Luther Burden.
Golden.
Oh, okay.
The guy who set, or did he set the record? He was the fastest
He
at
was
the
the
combine?
fastest this year at the combine. He didn't set a record. His teammate Isaiah Bond said he was going to beat Worthy's record and then ran slower than Golden even did.
Right. And now he has an issue.
Yeah, there's a sexual assault
police issue
thing with him. Yeah.
Golden, I don't know how it got into my head. It's probably guys like Sam and Steve who had him at maybe wide receiver 8 or something. That I had it in my head that he could be a faller. But we've asked people, because I want to know if that might be right. The betting odds don't say it. He's in every mock draft in the first round.
Yeah.
I asked Matt Harmon when he was on with us about Golden, and he's like, he's a lock to be a first-round pick, he said. Remember that?
Yep.
So I don't know. I kind of want to move to Pennsylvania and bet against it. Or just visit Pennsylvania is probably all I need to do.
I don't think
need to
you
live
need
there.
I don't think you need
proof
to
of
live
residence.
It just needs some. You need a few minutes at a rest stop.
McMillan, Golden. Who hasn't said that before? McMillan, Golden, Ibuka, Burden, and then you have Higgins. Then you kind of have your sort of dark horses, personal favorites. Ayo Manor would be another one, and this guy, Royals.
Yeah. These guys, Steve and Sam, are the only two people that I've come across, and I didn't even. I came across this. Excuse me, I had to sneeze all of a sudden out of nowhere. I've not heard anyone talk about Golden that way, that he could not be a first-round pick. Because like you're saying, every draft, he's often the second receiver off the board that I see. The guy that I hear more about in that way is Burden. That's why I guessed him. Although, it was interesting, I was listening to as I like to do, it just times out nicely for me when Greg Cosell is on with the guys before us, Chris and Steve, on it's usually Fridays around 2:00, I think, is when they do that in season, and here in draft season they've kept it going, which I appreciate. And I heard Greg talking about Burden, and he said, I'm not sure I understand the criticisms. Like, there's a notion out there that he's going to be limited to just a slot, but that's not the player that I'm watching. I think he can do anything you want him to do. Yes, he did play a lot in the slot, but he can do whatever you want him to do. And it was, I like taking notes and just like remembering things I hear that guy say. That's not to say he's never wrong or even slightly misguided about some of these opinions. He's just one dude out there, but I just have no doubt he grinds on all of it, just like a lot of these people do. So that was interesting. My ears kind of perked up at that because I had sort of dismissed Burden. When we're talking about Burden, mostly I feel like the people we've talked to on the air about him tell you that's a slot, and I just dismiss it like Shakir's the Bills slot receiver. I've got Kincaid to deal with. I'm not drafting anyone who's exclusively expected to flourish in the NFL in the slot. And here's one of the most respected guys in the biz telling you he doesn't have to just play the slot. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe the Bills, boy, if he falls, maybe round 2, great.
Would they? Burden, I heard Mike Renner on him. I might have mentioned this last week, so I apologize if I did. Although, should I apologize for that?
Nope.
It's 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
There's going to be some overlap.
It's going to be some repetitiveness. It's good to be repetitive anyway.
Is it?
Yes.
So Mike Renner, long time with Pro Football Focus, now CBS, basically about Burden said he was this incredible athlete player when he got there and never changed, never really got better.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that's Missouri, and they really didn't have a team or quarterback that could feed him, basically.
I would need to go look at the stats, but I feel like he's one of these guys who had a better 23 kind of by a lot. Their quarterback situation was maybe much more stable in 23 than it was in 24.
Yards almost double.
Yeah.
One more game. He went from 86 catches for 12, and 9 to last year 61 for 676 and 6.
Yeah.
But that's the draft.
Right.
Here's a guy that he's got tons of tools and might be, if he plugs in, the best. He seems to have that kind of upside, but whether it's character or just sort of he got bored, whatever the things were.
Or his quarterback was terrible.
The Bob McGinn stuff, the anonymous quote stuff from Bob McGinn at Tyler's website, golongtd.com, are not favorable to Burden.
Yeah.
He's the guy that didn't the one scout say to McGinn, he's got a mom problem, too. All the kind of stuff you get from the anonymous scouts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't want to just accept it all as true. Just one opinion anyway. But I'll listen to this. I just think I'm not optimistic that the Bills are going to go draft any of these guys. I think Saturday, sure. Saturday, you can do anything they want. Go have your fun. You've got your board. There were fallers. You want another running back, whether that's to replace Cook or Cook Insurance, makes sense. Wide receiver, same, just makes sense. Go fill out your depth. You're not drafting anybody on Saturday with 7 picks at the moment that you expect to start, right? That's probably safe. Maybe wide receiver would be one where a guy could play. You'd plan on him playing maybe a niche role.
Sure.
But not starting week 1. So go tell me what they do on Saturday. I'll probably say it's all fine. Even quarterback. I would say,
sure.
Okay, so 7 picks. I am not optimistic as somebody that would love to see it.
One of those first 3 picks is going to be a receiver.
Right.
Yeah. That is obviously not the same as not thinking it's called for. Like I'm saying, I think the case is there to be made. And their history, I guess, can cut both ways. In a certain way, you might want to avoid drafting a pass catcher, quote unquote, high in the draft 3 years in a row, because Kincaid was a first round pick. Obviously, Coleman, first pick of the second round last year. So if they were to do that, say with one of those 2 picks on Friday, it gets another year where you're doing that, which could look like you're saying these other 2 haven't worked out yet, or just haven't worked. And, to varying degrees, there's some truth in that. So should that Should you let that stop you from doing it again? Like, I would say absolutely not, but, this isn't in a vacuum. Like, this is all, like, everything that happens is weighing on Brandon Beane, and I don't know, does that make him gun-shy? Does he think Coleman looks bad because he picks another receiver in the second round a year later? It might. I mean, I was with Nate on Friday talking about this. He said, who's getting displaced? If they do that, like if they pick, at 30 or at 52 and whatever,
56 and 62.
56 and 62. Thank you. Like what happens, right? I mean,
that's the right question.
I've got Josh Palmer here. He's going to play all the time. I drafted Coleman last year. I mean, he got derailed by injury. I've got Curtis Samuel here. I've got Shakir. He's obviously on the field all the time. I'm going to want Kincaid on the field all the time. Like who? Everybody eats. Who loses a seat at the table? And I do think that. I never was satisfied with an answer that I could come up with because I don't know.
No matter what, this is the same thing. No matter what they would do there, it could look bad.
Right.
It probably would. And that's a very different point than what they should do.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But whether it's just for the team construct, for personal reasons, for your own reputation, whatever combination of that there is, he wouldn't want to bump Coleman already because, what? You're done?
Yeah.
I mean, after 1 year, so that's not going to happen.
What stands out to me about that entire idea, and I liked the question. I guess I like getting a question I can't find a good answer to. I think that makes it a good question. It just made me feel bad that I didn't have a satisfactory answer, at least one that satisfied me. The thing is, for me, mostly how they have sounded, I shouldn't say have, it's not like it's a constant stream of, he needs to do this and that and this and that. But the season ended, both Beane and McDermott were pointedly critical of Coleman, and then that happened again at either the owners' meetings or the combine, I don't remember which. There was sort of a repeat of some of those comments from McDermott, I believe, not as much Beane. And that's the thing that sort of has set me off on, do I want to trust Keon Coleman? Because I liked him the first part of the season just fine. I thought he was progressing, then he got hurt, and it just never came back. And, the game, the stats will tell you that. He just did not have much of an impact after he returned from the injury. Them talking so plainly about him, if not to him through these news conferences, is what has me unsettled about him. I think if they hadn't sounded, they were more just sort of like, it was a challenging year. He'd never been hurt before, but we're confident the kid's going to do the work, and we've got a guy that's going to really help us because we thought he was really starting to shine before he got hurt. Kind of like how I sounded about him before they started talking about him. Once they started talking about him, I started thinking, do I need another receiver? Like even more so than Hollins and Cooper both not being back, at least Hollins for sure. Cooper is still assignable if you wanted to do it.
But no way, right?
No, I don't think it's going to happen. They pushed me to fire up the wide receiver train, to borrow the morning show's moniker. More so, I wasn't sitting around thinking they need another guy, but the way they sound about him makes me feel like they might think they need another guy. So what are we even doing here?
Well, it's all kinds of different factors. Maybe they do think it, but still wouldn't draft one because of this point.
Because of the optics of it.
And they have other needs. They have bigger needs.
That's definitely true.
So all of that adds up to, I'd love a second-round receiver out of this thing, and maybe one of these big names falls to that extent. Just at the expense of all these other things and a defensive starter, perhaps, then what? Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's not this year the one for scenarios so much because it's pick 30 and it's defensive line and just name a different guy every day and okay. Mm-hmm. That's a need, fine, okay,
the Ole Miss
good.
Guy, the Oregon guy, the Michigan guy, we just sort of,
trade up, trade down, okay. It's just those little moves that they make almost every year. But this is a really interesting point. Do they have the offense they want? If they do, they did just set a franchise record in points.
Right.
Then maybe it's all the wide receiver train and everything we talk about is kind of a waste of time. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we could find other things to talk about that are at least as much of a waste of time.
Oh, absolutely.
We've done that.
I'm a craftsman when it comes to that concept.
Brian at 6 on the Masters. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
More of Schopp and the Bulldog.
Behind the scenes, even if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, you would, I think, not have heard this. Bulldog says, I think I'm going to watch a Montreal-Chicago hockey game tonight, to which I responded, what year? But you're talking about tonight's game.
Current, yeah. Montreal can clinch their spot in the playoffs, and they've got a Russian kid, Demidov, I believe is how you pronounce his name. At least it's when I Googled, that's what I was told. So I'll correct if necessary as we go.
That's like when my wife orders something as a vegetarian. She says, leave Demidov.
Wow, good one. So I'm interested to see what he looks like. I mean, I don't know how fast he can be expected to get up to speed, but whatever. He's been, I think, characterized as one of the best players not playing hockey in North America. So nice boost as the playoffs get here. Maybe for Montreal, we'll see. And, Bedard, if you want him, classic old uniforms, Montreal, it'll be buzzing, I'm sure. And a national Canadian broadcast, probably.
That's what you can guarantee when you watch the old games is the classic old uniforms. That's a lock.
And the classic broadcasts, too.
78-79. In this crazy world, had you made the comment, I had the thought, YouTube, bam. November 25th, 1978, Blackhawks at Canadians. What's better? Well, some things are better, but
first thing I thought when after I said that and you said like what year, maybe I'll watch a Chicago Montreal game from a long time ago. The first thought I had was watched both of them play the Sabres from 75 in the playoffs, because those are the two teams the Sabres beat to get to the finals in 75.
All right.
And what stood out to me after I thought that was, I can't remember lots of things. I'm 10 years old. Lots of things about the Montreal series. And in fact, for a long time, I thought Danny Gare scored the goal to finish the series. And it turns out that was actually game one. He won with an overtime goal, 6-5, famous goal, off a draw in the Buffalo zone. They go right down. He scores and slides into the Zamboni doors. I always thought that was the clinching game, but it's not. But anyway, so I don't have that, again, I was 10. I don't remember anything about the Chicago Blackhawks.
It was a sweep, right?
In that playoff series. I believe so, yeah. Maybe even a shorter, could it have been a 5-game? Well, I got to have to go look.
No, I don't think. They didn't
that.
have best of 5 then, right? They had best of 3.
Yeah, after that, eventually. Or maybe, because the Sabres only played those 2 series to get to the finals. Like, you look at the 75 playoffs, and that's it. There's no 4 rounds. Mm-hmm. It's just that. So
you're right. It was a 5-game win over Chicago.
Okay.
And then 6 over Montreal. The playoffs that year. So there were 4 best of 3s. And the Sabres had a good enough regular season.
They had a bye into the, okay.
They tied for the league lead in points with 2 other teams, Montreal and Philadelphia. So those teams and also the Islanders did not have to play in the first round. Or no, it wasn't the Islanders. Vancouver. Division winners didn't have to play in the first round.
Okay.
They won the division by 19 points. Buffalo over Boston. Bobby Orr is on this 78 Chicago team, but he retired before this game. He played 6 games that year. Also, by the way, Bobby Orr, 2 hockeyreference.com nicknames. All the good ones have 2, and a lot of the bad ones have 2.
Number 4, Bobby Orr.
Number 4
is that considered a nickname?
Is correct.
All right.
The other one, I don't think I knew of it as a nickname for him.
Is it something about the town he's from?
No. Okay. Perry Sound?
Yeah. Okay. No.
God.
God
is his nickname.
God. Or this will be a Family Guy bit where I just keep saying God over and over again.
I want to keep saying it.
God. I
want to keep saying it.
Wow, that's
you don't want that as a nickname.
That's something.
You want to be nicknamed God?
No, that's
a lot of pressure.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I think you'd prefer not have that moniker.
Maybe when you're single, but I don't know. I don't think I'd want to have the nickname God. Luckily, I don't.
Yeah.
That's a lot to carry around.
Yeah, the most you might want is even Jesus, but that's a lot too.
That's just, you don't want that.
No.
Ooh, here he comes, God. What's he going to do? Water into wine again? That whole thing?
So boring.
Good one, God.
Fishes and loaves.
Good one.
Yawn.
Oh, it's Easter week. Butter lambs. Speaking of God, not Bobby Orr. Not that God. Ready for butter lambs this week, right?
Ready.
You are?
I'm not hosting, so I do not feel compelled. My wife's got to work both Saturday night and Sunday night, so I had to beg off. I love making this meal and having everyone come to my house, and they, my sisters and my parents all chip in and help out. But we couldn't do it at my house because of my wife's work schedule. So we're playing a road game. So I don't feel like I'm bringing a lot. I'm bringing some stuff, but I don't feel like getting the butter lamb that's not something I feel I got to do.
No.
If you're hosting, get a butter lamb. If you're not,
I mean, so that's so vitally important.
If you're not, expect a butter lamb there. And if there isn't, well, then,
leave. Turn right around.
Go find a different brunch.
Go to the house next door.
Right.
I'm just going to take a sip out of this curling mug again, even though it's empty. Brian Koziol on Masters after the update here on WGR.
We are just over a week away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft, and it has been a busy day for pre-draft visit reports. A number of names added to the Bills. South Carolina defensive tackle TJ Sanders, Kentucky defensive tackle Deion Walker, Kentucky cornerback Maxwell Harrison, Colorado State wide receiver Torrey Horton, and Virginia Tech wide receiver Jalen Lane. Raiders edge rusher Max Crosby has been named the assistant general manager of Eastern Michigan. Crosby becomes the first active player to hold the position, and that role appears to be high school and portal talent evaluation, managing the NIL budget, and serving as a special assistant to the athletic director. The Sabres did drop both of their games in Florida. That wraps up their road schedule for the season. Now just 2 games remain. Both will be at home tomorrow against the Maple Leafs and Thursday against the Flyers. We do have some late afternoon baseball today, just after 7. The Yankees have the Royals in town. The Blue Jays then host the Braves, and at 7:40, the Mets are in Minnesota versus the Twins. And then in golf, Rory McIlroy takes home his first green jacket. He wins the 2025 Masters, also gives him the career Grand Slam, joining just 5 other male golfers to complete the modern Grand Slam. And do stay tuned, as we'll get more on the weekend as Brian Koziel joins the show next. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Bulldog. Happy, the ball itself has its own energy, or life force, if you will. Its natural environment is in the home. So why don't you send them home?
It's Mike Schopp.
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
And the Bulldog.
That Happy Gilmore, he's a real crack-up, isn't he? I mean, he's a hoot. You know, what was great today, one of his fans mooned me, and had Happy written on his ass. Ha on the one cheek, and then, sure enough, PPY right there on the other.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. An incredible Masters tournament won by Rory McIlroy yesterday, who, I'll say again, I can't believe is 35. I hardly remember golf before Rory McIlroy was a star. 35. I said earlier, they mentioned his age on the broadcast at one point, and I thought I might have heard 45, and I believed it. But only, then I started to, that can't be right.
Right.
Looked it up, 35. I mean, I guess. Career Grand Slam, all of it. Brian Koziel, Tee to Green, joins us now on the West Her hotline. I want to start with just this, the overall score of this tournament, for fans, for the history of the Masters, everything. I mean, what wasn't perfect about it? From the winner, how he did it, the up and down day that he had toward the end, the competition, elite players, the career Grand Slam element that didn't rain.
It was perfect.
It was perfect every day.
It was a little windy at one point, maybe on Friday.
Okay.
Or whatever. Yeah, it was a 10 out of a 10, I think.
Brian, I'm always going to bristle when I hear best ever, right? I want to make sure that's right, but I don't know. There have been other great Masters, of course. What did this one lack?
Oof, good question. It really did have it all, like you just mentioned. Great players, drama, back and forth, swings in the leaderboard, good conditions. I mean, it checked a lot of boxes.
Classic venue, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably the only answer I could give you that maybe is probably unrealistic to do right now is that it didn't have Tiger involved in some way, because that would be the only thing
right.
that maybe could have added another layer to this. Beyond that, if I'm allowed to just remove Tiger from the situation, I don't know what else you could have asked for. You had the number one player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, at least around. Mm-hmm. You had McIlroy, who's been going for this now, what has been a decade-long plus story, going for the career Grand Slam. You have DeChambeau, the most interesting man in golf, involved. You had Justin Rose, just like the steady, stalwart guy there, up and down throughout the day. The young phenom in Oberg was kind of flirting with the lead. In fact, he had a putt for the lead late. That's how he got involved at a classic venue. We all know the holes on the back nine so well, so it's so familiar to us. And the way they present the Masters, for how much now we take in sports entertainment and how much maybe a little stuff annoys us here and there. I mean, I think the Masters and how CBS presents it, but I know it's the Masters controlling it, how it's presented with such little commercial interruption, such little sponsorship this and brought to you by this and all. It's so clean. The announcers essentially are pressured to say less. In I think a good way. I know, Mike, I was listening to you earlier. I know you want them to have stronger takes. I'm sure they're probably even discouraged from doing that because they want the golf to do the talking. All of that, I feel like, is what makes this event such a great annual thing to watch.
Fair enough. There's so much of the actual talking that is completely useless, though. All I really wanted was, as you heard probably, was somebody to say, for much of the day, the simple thing that everybody watching the tournament was saying to themselves and each other, which was, if Rory McIlroy doesn't win, I mean, he'll have really blown it. That's the bottom line. He's up by 5 or something in the middle of the round. Not that you needed to be told that, but just a simple, real take on what we were looking at. Instead, it was, just usual kind of fluffy.
And I thought on 11, that is when I had that thought. DeChambeau hits his approach. I think actually McIlroy hit first. He hits his approach, and it barely stayed up on the edge of the water on 11.
Right.
And then DeChambeau went into the water. And I was like, okay, I think it was a 3-shot lead at this point, and then it got pushed to, at least with DeChambeau, the gap became 5. I know with Rose.
It didn't last long, right. But for a minute there, yeah, right.
But right there, when Rory got up and down, and he's got that big lead on DeChambeau, I'm thinking, I was thinking, okay, this is over here. This would. But at that point, I think you're right, Mike. The statement to make, even if you don't want to say it's over, because they probably you want to extend the drama. You don't want viewers to say, oh, it's over, I'm going to tune out now. You probably at least want to say here that you're going to see history in some capacity here, or something incredibly memorable. You're either going to see him complete this Grand Slam and get it home, or you're going to see an epic collapse for the ages.
And either one could be career-defining for him.
Correct,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, even with the other 3 majors to begin with, or 4, excuse me. Yeah. I thought, I know, of course, the final round and all the drama was fantastic. Saturday, I texted both of you guys this Saturday afternoon. Brian, it seemed like every time they cut to another guy, it was an incredible shot. Whether it was a birdie putt or just something from the fairway approaching a green, it just felt like shot after shot, and it was like an all-star game. I mean, it was the best Saturday afternoon between 2 and 3:30, 2 and 4. I just felt like was the hottest golf I've ever seen for an extended period in my life.
Fixed, probably.
No, and that was the stretch where McIlroy starts with 6 consecutive threes.
Right.
That was, where he birdies 1, he drives it over the bunker on 1 that goes 371, and he's 50 yarders past the second farthest drive of the day. And then he chips in on 2, and he's now all of a sudden in the lead, or maybe tied for the lead, and we're sitting here saying, holy cow, this is real now with him having a legit chance, and DeChambeau's getting a birdie, and now we're seeing the cluster of these monster names all very tight at the top with McIlroy leading it. Yeah, that stretch there, that early back 9 stretch with all those names, Chris, on Saturday afternoon, you're right. That was probably as good of excitement for good golf that we've seen in a long time.
How do you remember? I mean, there have been emotional scenes. Obviously, someone's winning the Masters, and often it's for a first time, right? Mickelson finally getting it done,
and the jump,
the jump, and even was it the year before or how many years before with Payne Stewart there consoling Mickelson? That's memorable. Tiger in 19? Very memorable. Him being so emotional, which wasn't common for him. So we've seen emotion there. Rory was heaving when he was on his knees, Brian. That was a catharsis happening. We watched it live on TV.
Yeah, that was not scripted. That was not the normal fist pump, wave to the crowd reaction, for sure. That was definitely real. And as he said afterwards, it was 11 years of buildup that he had been coming to the Masters, being asked about the Grand Slam, and as every year went on, not only was it no Grand Slam, but he was also building up the resume of the major drought too. There wasn't an Open Championship in there, or a U.S. Open in there, or a PGA in there. He had continued to also fail in all of those events where he was very competitive. Even just last year, remember the heartbreak at the U.S.
Three-footers
Open?
at 16 and 18. Yeah, right.
With DeChambeau last year at Pinehurst, and now he's playing with DeChambeau. Like, that added storyline of, well, is Rory going to get it done for the major drought and for the Grand Slam? But, oh, yeah, and the guy last year that he was battling with in that epic duel, now he's a part of it too. And DeChambeau, obviously a very interesting player to go along with it there. So I think there's so much there. But, yeah, how he's down on his knees and the breathing, you can tell, like, it's genuine, like, sobbing, breathing, emotion, happy, all together there. I would say probably since Tiger hugs Charlie on the side of the green there, that's probably the last time where I would have watched it to get that chills feeling inside watching it on television.
Which is especially great when it's somebody that has won so much. I mean, thinking of Masters tournaments in the 80s maybe or 90s where it's a first-time winner and Larry Mize. And just sort of like it blows his mind that he made that incredible chip shot and won or was about to win. But, you know, this was different but on that same kind of level emotionally. You know, McIlroy, for all the talk about his career, won the Players and won the Masters. And like he's 35,
and
like
he won at Pebble Beach earlier this year too.
Okay.
Like his 3 wins are like at famous venues here.
Isn't he sort of the rooting favorite going forward as well with the PGA? Like, see if he can have a historic year.
For sure. I mean, I think from what he's done so far, I mean, I definitely feel like that he mentally now has got to play freeing, I guess, from what happened here with this event here, to the point where maybe we'll come out and just see him roll now going forward. And by the way, he's going to a venue, if that matters, that he has won 4 times at recently. He's the Wells Fargo Championship at Quail Hollow in Charlotte this year is where the PGA is. He's won that event 4 times. He won it in 2010, 2015, 21, and 24. So he's going to a place that he's had a ton of success. So that's going to obviously also, I'm sure, conjure up some good confidence and some memories for him that he can go ahead and get this one. And, I mean, if he does, I mean, you're right, Chris, winning at Pebble Beach in an elevated field's impressive, but I don't know if we've ever had Players Champion, Masters Champion, U.S. Open Champion, PGA, those 3 in the same season. Scheffler last year did Players and Masters but couldn't win at the PGA, so that was, of course, his arrest. He actually probably could have won, but it was close. I wonder, I'd have to look that up. I don't know if Tiger ever did that where he went Players, Championship, Masters, and then the PGA. For Tiger, it would have been the U.S. Open next because PGA, of course, switched from August to May recently. But, yeah, I mean, it's setting up that, you know, we could see this historic season for sure.
So I called, just texted almost like a habit. I called my great friend John McEntee during this tournament. I just have so many great memories of playing golf with him when I lived in Rochester, like it seemed like every day. I called him because I was listening to the radio broadcast of the Masters, and Steve Melnick was a part of the coverage. Steve Melnick was at Augusta with CBS in the 80s. Like, who even knew Steve Melnick was working? Like, this was kind of blew my mind, so we talked about that. He's 78, and he was in the booth this weekend, which was cool. And I was talking to John and thinking of him a long time ago, but, you know, it was still Justin Rose was just coming up. And he said about Rose, he had a friend who used this phrase all the time, and it was something one aspired to be called because, you know, like just sort of nails on the golf course. He's like, that Rose is one tough bozo. I always loved that. One tough bozo. And there he sure was, right? I mean, he was kind of way back, and that putt at 18, that's not a guy I'd want to have to beat. You know, Rose, like that.
I just thought there's no way he's going to make a mistake. And he really didn't.
He didn't. No, I mean,
McIlroy had to beat him.
You'd take his 2 shots in the playoff hole every single time.
Absolutely. I would. Brian?
Yeah. I agree. And, if you've recently watched the Ryder Cup, you know every one of those putts that that putt he made on 18, he makes that like 4 out of 5 times in Ryder Cups. And, you know, if you're rooting for the United States, you know he's just money and clutch in those situations. I know, Chris, you and I were talking on Friday that he had now 5 first-round leads, and he also has led for the most total days after rounds in Masters history. To not have one, he's got to be a little bummed. I mean, no surprise. He took the classy route and understood what the McIlroy win meant in terms of the golf world and the golf stage and everything. But I mean, I'm wondering if because he had such a huge comeback, maybe he felt more fortunate to be there than it was just like a back and forth and, hey, I lost in the playoff. Like maybe he's thinking, hey, I played perfect today, and it worked out that somehow I ended up into this playoff, and it took an incredible shot from Rory to beat me. But I mean, he shoots a 66 on the final day. That's really, really impressive. And, for Rose, he's obviously had I guess I would call it a Hall of Fame career. To have 2 now losses in playoffs. Remember, he lost to Sergio 2017, I believe. Yeah, 2017 to Sergio. So
there was an emotional one, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. His
Garcia
first major and only major for Sergio.
Yeah.
If it hasn't been said yet, while we were running down what kind of year he could have, if you mentioned it, I'm sorry, I might have been looking for it myself. The Open this year in July is in Northern Ireland, Royal Portrush. So it's not his home course or anything, but still, I mean, it's his home. It's his home. So that's pretty hot too.
U.S. Open, by the way, is at Oakmont.
Right.
In between there.
Brian, I mentioned earlier, I've really warmed up to DeChambeau over the last year, so maybe a lot of golf fans have. He showed up, he seemed like sort of a big, puffed-up villain and was trying to wreck the game, and a lot of people, I think, held that against him for a while. And his personality was pretty abrasive. That's warmed up a lot. I don't know if he's changed, whether that's just for show or not. Who knows? You can be skeptical about that kind of thing, but he's become a very likable figure. What I did not like at all was immediately afterward him talking, and then again today I saw a statement he issued congratulating Rory, and in both the interview and then in this statement, I didn't have my swing or something like. Dude, we know you lost. I don't need you making excuses about you didn't have your best stuff. You didn't win. You didn't have it. That's good enough. I felt like that was kind of lame. It's the first misstep I feel like he's made. I don't know how big a misstep it is.
He's implying he would have won.
Yeah, it rubbed me the wrong way. I did not like that from him at all.
Yeah, I think I think there's a little reminder that he wants to say that, look, if I had my best, Rory wouldn't have beaten me, kind of thing. And
right.
And
that's not gracious at all. It's the opposite of gracious.
And Bryson could be, he could be still annoyed of Rory last year, because remember last year at the U.S. Open, Rory, from all reports, say that he did not stick around and congratulate Bryson and not shake his hand. And then he got in the car, didn't even speak with the media, and left. So, I mean, there's definitely a little budding rivalry, I guess, between these two, which I guess is good for golf. Not everybody has to like everybody out there. I know he was asked, about conversing with Rory during the round, and he said there was essentially nothing that he,
wouldn't talk to me.
Talk to him.
Wouldn't talk to
which,
me. Right.
Again, I don't put Rory down for that either. Everybody was so complimentary of Tiger doing that in his day that he had his blinders on and his tunnel vision, and that he didn't talk to anybody, and that even Tony Finau mentioned in 2019 when he was playing with Tiger, he's like, oh, I got to about the 7th hole. He wasn't saying anything. I just said, how are your kids? And he said, fine. And he goes, I took that as a cue that, okay, we're done talking for the day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put that down. That's how Rory, I guess, figured I have to behave and get myself locked in order to do so. Bryson, though, you're right. I mean, what a turnaround in terms of his public persona. He always seemed to be annoyed by fans kind of being around and wanting a piece of him in some capacity. Now he embraces it. He even goes out of his way, like in between holes or while he's walking to kind of do that. And you're right. I mean, could it be for show? Could it be part of his marketing team saying, hey, this is what you really need to be doing here?
That's Mickelson.
You're right.
That's Mickelson.
That is Mickelson.
Brian, we got to run. Thanks.
Okay, guys, thanks.
Brian Koziol, Tee to Green, Saturday mornings. Now, this DeChambeau point makes me feel bad about tweeting last week, apologizing for how the show sounded Wednesday through Friday.
Well,
because it implied I had been there.
I'm pretty glad I missed that.
If I had been there, you would have liked the show.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry for being sorry.
If you were offended, can squeeze that in. Go all the way.
If you thought the show was bad on Friday because I wasn't here, I'm sorry. I could have made that work. I went to watch curling in Toronto. I didn't really tweet that. I would never. I'm sure it was great. Actually, I don't even mean any of this. Thanks, Brian. Justin Mello of the Draft Network joined us earlier. That's next here on WGR.
We know you can't hear